Some places remember us, ... even when we forget them. Some doors open without ever being built, and some voices, they sound like yours, but they're not. Tonight, I'll tell you a story, a true one, or at least, it felt true when it happened. You can decide for yourself. So close your eyes, make sure you're alone, and if the walls around you start to whisper ... don't answer back. Body went missing before burial. I was half asleep when the phone rang. I almost didn't answer. It was past midnight, and I didn't recognize the number. I thought about letting it go to voicemail, but something made me grab it at the last second. Hello. There was a pause, then a woman's voice. Soft, careful. Is this Daniel Collins? Yes. Who is this? My name is Marissa. I'm with the county coroner's office. I'm very sorry to tell you this, but your brother, Michael, passed away earlier today. I sat up in bed. My chest felt tight. What? I'm sorry. He was found alone in his apartment this morning. No signs of struggle. We're still waiting on the autopsy report. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. It felt like my body stopped working. I understand this is a shock, she said. But since you're listed as next of kin, we'll need you to come in to sign some paperwork. I haven't talked to him in 10 years, I said quietly. I know. He had your number written down. You're the only contact we could find. She gave me the address, told me I could come in tomorrow. Then she hung up. I sat there in the dark for a long time, holding the phone. Michael and I weren't close. Not anymore. We used to be when we were kids. He was always the one getting into trouble, and I was always the one dragging him out of it. But things changed after our parents died. He pulled away from everyone, started drinking, started lying. We had one bad fight, and that was it. We stopped talking. 10 years, gone, just like that. And now he was dead. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen, drinking old coffee, staring at nothing. I kept thinking, why now? Why had he kept my number after all this time? Why hadn't he called? Why did I have to hear about him from a stranger? I kept remembering the last thing I ever said to him. I'm done with you. I had slammed the door in his face. He had looked hurt, but also tired. I didn't know it would be the last time. Now I'd never get the chance to take it back. The next morning, I drove back to the town we grew up in. I hadn't been there in years. Everything looked smaller, older, like it was all slowly falling apart. The coroner's office was a grey building near the edge of town. I signed the forms, answered a few questions. The woman from the phone, Marissa, handed me a small envelope with his keys, his phone, and a silver chain he used to wear. Do you want to see the body? She asked. I looked up at her. See it? She hesitated. I'm sorry. The body was transferred to the funeral home early. You'll have to speak with them if you want a viewing. Right, I said, but something in her voice felt off, like she was hiding something. I left the office and sat in my car with the envelope in my hand. The keys felt cold, heavy, like they didn't want to be touched. I turned on his phone. It had one voicemail. It was from last night, from his number, but all I heard was static, and under it, breathing. I got to town just after 3 p.m. It looked the same as I remembered. Quiet, small, and grey. The trees were still bare, even though it was spring. The streets were almost empty. No kids outside, no one walking. just a few cars parked on the side of the road. I stopped in front of the house I grew up in, my parents' old place. After they died, Michael moved in and stayed there alone. I never came back, not once. I always told myself I was too busy, but really, I just didn't want to see it again. The house looked worse than I thought. The paint was peeling. The yard was dead. One of the upstairs windows was cracked. I stood at the front door for a while before unlocking it. The second I walked in, I felt it. That strange pressure in the air, like something was waiting inside. Watching, I told myself it was just the memories. The bad ones. Fights in the kitchen. Crying in the hallway. The sound of doors slamming and no one talking for days. The house smelled like dust and wood. Everything was quiet, too quiet. I dropped my bag in the hallway and went into the living room. Michael's stuff was still there, his coat on the back of a chair, some shoes by the door, and a half-empty glass of water on the table, like he was still living here, like he never left. I didn't want to touch anything, so I just sat on the couch and stared at the floor. My phone buzzed once. A text from the funeral home reminding me about the burial the next morning. I didn't answer. The sun started to go down and the house got darker. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat there thinking. I kept hearing small sounds creaks. Above me, a soft thump from somewhere in the back dot. Old houses make noise. That's what I told myself. But every time I heard one, I froze. At around 8 p.m., I walked upstairs to the bedroom I used to sleep in. It hadn't changed much. Same walls, same old desk in the corner. The bed still had my old blanket on it. I didn't know if Michael ever came in here. I didn't like the idea of him sitting on my bed, reading my old books. But I guess I didn't have a choice now. I turned on the small lamp by the bed and tried to rest. But the room felt heavy, like something was wrong with the air. I stared at the ceiling. I heard the stairs creak once. Then again, 5 minutes later, no footsteps, just creaks, like someone put weight on one step, then stopped. I sat up and listened. Nothing. I told myself it was the house settling. Maybe the heat kicking in. Maybe wind outside. But it didn't sound like wind. It sounded like someone walking very slowly. One step. Wait, then another. I grabbed the lamp and shined it at the doorway. No one there. I walked out and checked. The hall, nothing. I checked the stairs, empty dot still. I couldn't shake the feeling. You know that feeling when someone is behind you, even when no one's there. That's how the whole house felt, like something just left the room every time I entered. I went back to bed and locked the door. It made me feel a little better, but not much. Around midnight, I heard something fall in the kitchen, a soft clink, like glass breaking. I didn't get up. I just lay there with the covers pulled up to my chest, listening. Nothing else happened. I finally fell asleep around 3 a.m., with the lamp still on and my shoes still on my feet. The house didn't want me. There, that's what it felt like. Like I had walked into a place that remembered everything I said, and everything I did, and it wasn't going to let me forget it either. The next morning, I drove to the funeral home. It was a small white building at the edge of town. I remembered going there once as a kid for my grandmother's service. It looked almost the same, just older. I walked through the front doors and gave my name. A woman at the front desk gave me a quiet smile and told me to wait in one of the side rooms. The room was empty, just chairs and a table with a box of tissues. I sat there for a few minutes, staring at the wall. Finally, a man came in. He looked nervous. Late 40s, glasses, thin hair. He sat across from me, folding his hands in his lap. "Mr. Collins," he said, "I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm the funeral director here. My name is Gerald." I nodded. "Thanks." He cleared his throat and looked down for a second. "I need to let you know that the viewing for your brother has been cancelled." I stared at him. "What?" "There was a mix-up," he said quickly. "It's been taken care of, but unfortunately, we cannot offer a viewing." "What kind of mix-up?" He looked uncomfortable. "It's an internal issue. Just a handling error. Nothing you need to worry about." "I want to see the body," I said. He paused. "I'm afraid that's not possible." "Why not?" "The casket is sealed," he said. That was the request." "Whose request?" He hesitated. "It's part of our policy when there's been certain kinds of damage. It's best to leave the coffin closed." I felt my stomach turn. "Are you telling me the body is too damaged to be seen?" No, nothing like that," he said. "It's just, the circumstances were unusual. Out of respect, we've decided." "I don't care about your decision," I said. "I'm his brother. I want to see him. Just once." Gerald looked pale now. He reached for a folder but didn't open it. "I'm sorry," he said. "Truly, but the body is no longer on site." I blinked. "What?" "It was taken earlier this morning." "Taken where?" He looked at the folder again, but still didn't open it. "Transfer to the cemetery for the burial," he said. "Everything is still on schedule. But we can't open the casket, and we can't show the body." I just sat there. My hands were cold. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. "Was it even here?" I asked. He looked up. "Excuse me, Michael's body. Was it ever here?" He opened his mouth like he was about to speak. Then he closed it. "Yes," he said finally. "It was here." I didn't believe him. I stood up to leave. Gerald followed me to the door. "If you have any questions, we'll be at the cemetery in the morning," he said. I didn't answer. As I walked out, I passed a hallway that led to the back of the building. There were 2 workers standing there, whispering. One of them looked at me and quickly turned away. I got into my car and sat for a minute. A mix-up, no viewing, body already gone. They were lying to me. I just didn't know why yet. The burial was quiet. Only a few people showed up. A couple of cousins I hadn't seen in years. An old neighbor. A priest I didn't know stood by the grave, reading something from a small black book. I didn't listen. I just stared at the casket. It didn't look right. 2 men from the funeral home were lowering it down with straps. They weren't struggling at all. I've seen coffins moved before. They're heavy. A full-grown man in a wooden box shouldn't be easy to carry like that. But this one looked light to light. I watched it go down into the ground. No sound, no weight, no thud when it settled. Something was wrong. After the short service, people walked off quietly. Some gave me a quick hug or a nod. The priest said something about peace and prayer. I didn't answer him. I stayed behind. The men were already shoveling dirt into the hole. I stepped away from the group and found Gerald, the funeral director, standing near one of the trees. He looked like he was trying to avoid me. I walked right up to him. "Hey," I said. He flinched a little. "Yes, I want the truth," I said. "What was in that coffin?" He looked confused. "Your brother? No, don't lie to me," I said. That casket was light, too light. I saw the way your guys carried it, like it was empty. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. His face went pale. It's not unusual for certain types of caskets to be lighter. I'm not an idiot, I said. Was there even a body in there? He didn't speak. Did you bury an empty box? No, he said quickly. It wasn't empty. Then what was in it? I asked. He looked around, like he didn't want anyone else to hear. There was a delay, he said, voice low. We had trouble locating the remains. There was some paperwork confusion, a transport mistake. What does that mean? I asked. We received the coffin sealed. It came from the morgue that way. We were told not to open it. Who told you that? He swallowed hard. The county, a man from the coroner's office. I don't remember his name. He said it was all approved. We just followed orders. Did you ever see the body? I asked. He didn't answer. You didn't, did you? He looked down. No. I felt sick, so you buried a closed coffin that no one checked. It's not unusual. Stop saying that, I snapped. That's my brother. And no one even made sure he was in there. Gerald stepped back. I'm sorry. If you'd like, we can file a request to reopen the grave, but it will take time. A lot of time. Why would that take time? I asked. It's policy. I stared at him. He's not in there, is he? I don't know, he whispered. I walked away before I lost it. The workers were done filling the grave. The dirt was smooth, clean, like nothing strange had happened at all. But I knew. Michael wasn't in that box. Something else was. Or maybe nothing at all. After the burial, I went back to the house. I locked the front door and didn't turn on any lights. I didn't want to see anything. I just sat in the dark, thinking. I couldn't stop seeing that casket. How light it looked, like nothing was inside. I didn't eat. I didn't turn on the TV. I just sat there until it got late. Sometime around midnight, I stood up. I couldn't sit still anymore. I walked through the house, checking the rooms. When I got to Michael's bedroom, I stopped. The door was halfway open. I didn't remember leaving it that way. I pushed it open all the way and looked around. The room smelled musty. The sheets were still on the bed. Some clothes were tossed on the floor. I saw a cracked lamp in the corner and a pile of books under the window. I didn't know what I was looking for. Maybe a clue, maybe nothing. Then I saw it. One of the wall panels near the floor looked different. The color was off. The edge was sticking out like it had been pulled before. I knelt down and touched it. It moved. I pulled it off the wall. Behind it was a small hole, just big enough to hide something. There was one thing inside. A journal. It had a black cover and Michael's name written on the inside. I sat on the bed and opened it. The first few pages were messy. The handwriting was shaky. The entries didn't have any dates, just strange notes. I hear footsteps at night, always around 3 a.m. Someone was standing in the backyard again. I closed the curtains. I didn't look too long. They watched the house from the woods. I flipped to the next page. Something is inside the walls. I can hear it moving when I try to sleep. The next few pages were worse. His handwriting got worse, like he was scared or shaking while writing. I saw someone in the mirror, behind me, but no one was there when I turned around. They knock at night, 3 times, always 3. Then they stop. I stopped reading for a second. That knocking 3 times. I heard that too. I kept reading. They look like people, but they're not. Their faces don't move right. Their eyes are too wide. I followed one of them into the woods. It didn't leave any footprints. Page after page was filled with short lines, fear, paranoia, weird things that didn't make sense. But it didn't sound like he was making it up. It sounded like he was trying to warn someone, trying to warn me. I turned to the last page. His handwriting was barely readable. I locked all the doors. I closed every window. I turned on every light. It didn't matter. They came in anyway. There was one last line, scratched hard into the paper. I woke up with dirt under my nails. I think I've been digging in my sleep. I closed the book. I was shaking. Something was wrong in this house. Something had been wrong for a long time. Michael knew it, and now I did too. Suddenly, I heard something knocking. 3 slow knocks. They came from behind the wall, right where I found the journal. I froze. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then, the sound stopped. Just like that. No footsteps, no voices, just silence. I stood up, walked out of the room, and closed the door. I slept in the hallway that night with the light on. I didn't go near that room again, because now I believed every word. My brother wrote, I couldn't stay in the house. Not after what I read in Michael's journal. Not after the knocking. I needed air. I needed space to think. So I grabbed a flashlight and walked out. It was late, maybe 10 or 11. I didn't care. I didn't even lock the door behind me. The cemetery was just down the road. Same one where they buried Michael. I wasn't planning to go there. I just ended up walking that way. The flashlight flickered once, but I shook it and kept walking. There were no cars, people, just me and the road. When I reached the cemetery gate, I stopped. It was open. No one else was around. The whole place was quiet. Still, I stepped inside. Gravel crunched under my shoes as I walked between the rows of graves. My light swept across old stones, some broken, some tilted sideways. The trees around the edge barely moved. I walked until I saw Michael's grave. The dirt still looked fresh. I stood there for a while. I didn't say anything. I just looked at the spot where he was supposed to be. Then I heard it, a crunch like a shoe on gravel. I turned far across the cemetery. Near the tree line, someone was standing there. At first, I thought it was just a statue. He didn't move. He didn't say anything. But I knew he was watching me. The man was tall, wearing dark clothes. I couldn't see his face. Hey, I called out. He didn't answer. I stepped forward and pointed my flashlight at him. The light didn't reach. He was too far. Do you need something? I asked, still nothing. I looked down for half a second, just to check where I was stepping. When I looked up, the man was gone. I stood there, frozen. I looked around, shining the flashlight everywhere. No sign of him. He hadn't walked away. There was no sound, no movement. He had just vanished. I didn't like that. I turned and started walking back toward the road. Then I heard it again, crunch. But it wasn't from me. I stopped. Another crunch. This time, closer. I didn't turn around. I didn't want to. I started walking faster. Another crunch. And another. Footsteps. Right behind me. Whoever or whatever it was following me. Staying just out of the light. I didn't run. I didn't want to fall. I just kept walking, fast and straight. My heart was pounding. I gripped the flashlight so hard my hand started to hurt. I finally reached the gate. I turned around and pointed the light behind me. No one there, but I knew something had followed me. I could still feel it. I ran the rest of the way home. When I got inside, I locked the door and turned on every light in the house. I didn't hear footsteps after that, but I kept thinking about that man, how he stood so still, how he didn't make a sound, and how fast he disappeared. He wasn't just visiting a grave, he was watching one, watching me. I needed answers. No one would tell me what happened to Michael's body. The funeral director lied. The coffin felt empty. And that man in the cemetery, he wasn't normal. So I made a choice. I was going to break into the funeral home. I waited until after midnight. The town was quiet. No cars, no people. I parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest on foot. I wore all black and brought a small flashlight and a screwdriver. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted to look around. The side door had no cameras. I checked earlier that day. The lock was old. It took me less than a minute to pop it open. I slipped inside. It smelled like chemicals and flowers. The fake kind. I stood still, listening. No footsteps, no voices, just the soft hum of something downstairs. I found the door to the basement. Near the back, it was unlocked. I opened it slowly and went down the stairs. The air felt heavier the lower I went. There were no lights on. I moved carefully, pointing my flashlight at the ground at the bottom. The basement split into 2 rooms. The first one was full of metal tables, cleaning tools, and body bags stacked on shelves. But something was off. The floor had deep scratches, like something had been dragged across it. Not just once, many times. There was a large drain in the middle of the room. Something dark stained the edge of it. I didn't look too close. On one of the tables, the straps were torn, like someone had tried to break free. That made me stop. Why would a dead body need straps? I moved to the second room. This one was smaller. A desk in the corner. A shelf with old boxes. No windows. I opened the first box. Inside were dusty VHS tapes. Lots of them. Each tape had a name written on it in black marker. Harold Green, Elaine, Foster, Gregory Bell. One after another. Some of the tapes had years on them. 1997, 2003, 2010. Why would a funeral home have tapes like this? Then I saw one at the bottom of the box. My hands froze. It was labeled, Michael Collins. Do not view my heart. Started pounding. Why would someone write that? Why would someone record him? There was an old TV on the desk, still plugged in. A VCR sat underneath. I didn't want to watch it, but I had to. I pushed the tape in and hit play. The screen was black at first, then fuzzy lines. Then something appeared. A body on a table. A white sheet covered most of it. Just the face was visible. It was Michael. His skin looked pale. His eyes were shut. Nothing happened for a few seconds. Then his lips moved, just a little, like a twitch dot. The camera shook. His fingers moved. Next, slow, small jerks. Then his eyes opened, wide, staring at the ceiling. I jumped back. I almost hit the wall. The camera zoomed in. Michael's eyes were still open, but they didn't look. normal. They were too dark, too shiny. Then the video cut to static. I ripped the tape out and threw it in my bag. I had seen enough. Something was wrong with my brother, or whatever they put in that coffin. I started to leave, but stopped at the door. Behind me, something scraped across the floor, very slow, like a body being dragged. I didn't look back. I ran up the stairs and out the door. I didn't stop until I was back in my car with all the doors locked. That tape wasn't a mistake. It was a warning, and someone didn't want me to see it. I didn't go home right after I left the funeral home. I parked on the side of the road and just sat there. The tape was in my bag, labeled with my brother's name. Michael Collins, do not vie it abuse. But I had watched it, and now I couldn't stop thinking about it. Michael moved, his lips twitched, his fingers jerked, his eyes opened. That wasn't normal. That wasn't supposed to happen. I drove back to the house just after 2 a.m. I locked the door behind me and shut all the curtains. I grabbed the tape and took it to the old TV in the corner of the living room. I hadn't used that TV in years, but it still had a working VCR. I had to see it again. I had to be sure. I wasn't going crazy. I pushed in the tape. The screen went black for a few seconds, then it started. The camera was fixed on a metal table. A body lay on it, covered with a white sheet. The head and arms were exposed. It was Michael, eyes closed. Still, the video had a faint humming sound, like a machine running. Nearby, I leaned in closer. The image flickered once, like a glitch. Then again, I saw his hand move. Just a twitch at first. Then his fingers curled slowly. The sheet over his chest shifted slightly, like something inside was breathing. I felt my stomach turn. Michael's lips started moving, like he was whispering, but there was no sound. Then his eyes opened, wide, no blinking. No focus, just wide. Dark eyes staring at the ceiling. I hit pause, but the screen didn't freeze. It kept playing. I hit stop. Nothing happened. Michael sat up on the screen. The camera shook a little. His mouth opened, too wide to be normal, then dash static. The screen went black. Dot. I yanked the tape out of the VCR. I didn't want to see anymore. That thing on the screen, whatever it was, wasn't my brother. It looked like him, but something inside. It wasn't human. Suddenly, I heard a noise from the hallway. A soft scratching sound, like fingernails on metal. Grabbed the flashlight and walked slowly toward the noise. It was coming from behind the basement door. I hadn't opened that door. In years, I unlocked it and stepped down one stair. Then two. The air was colder down there, still and heavy. The scratching sound got louder. Then it stopped. I reached the bottom and pointed the flashlight. Across the room, the metal storage unit in the corner, the one that hadn't worked in years, was shaking. Not much, just a little, but enough to see it. Something inside was moving. I backed away. I didn't want to be there. Whatever was in that unit, I didn't want to see it. I ran back upstairs and slammed the door shut. I locked it. Then I moved a chair in front of it just in case. My hands were shaking. I didn't understand what was happening. Michael was supposed to be dead. I went to his funeral. I saw them bury the casket, but now I wasn't sure if he ever really died or if something else had taken his place. That tape showed something no one was meant to see. That body wasn't resting. It was becoming something else, something that could move on its own. And now I was sure of one thing. Whatever it was, It didn't stay in that coffin. I had to know for sure. After everything, I saw the tape. The movement in the mortuary, the scratches in my basement. I couldn't stop thinking about the grave. Was Michael really buried there? Or did they put something else in that coffin? I waited until almost 3 a.m. I parked down the road from the cemetery and walked in through the side gate. I brought a flashlight, a small shovel, and a crowbar. I felt sick the whole time, like I was doing something wrong. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to see what was inside that grave. The grave looked the same as before. Smooth dirt, neat grass around the edge, like no one had touched it. But I knew better. I turned off the flashlight and listened. No sounds, no footsteps, no wind. I turned the light back on and started digging. At first, the dirt came up easy. It was loose, dry, too dry for something freshly buried. I kept going. My arms started to hurt, but I didn't stop. Then the shovel hit something, not with dot cloth. I cleared more dirt and pulled it out. It was a bundle of old clothes folded and tied with string. Inside the clothes were leaves, dry brown leaves. Nothing else, no body, no bones, no Michael, just clothes and garbage. I sat back on the ground, breathing hard. They buried an empty box. No, not even that. They filled it with trash. I looked around. The grave with the flashlight. Then I saw something: footprints. They were next to the hole I just dug. Bare feet, no shoes, no socks. Just deep, wide footprints in the soft dirt. They weren't mine. They were too big. I followed them with the light. They went up the hill, past a few old gravestones, and into the grass beyond the cemetery fence. I stepped closer. The footprints led straight to the forest behind the cemetery. I stopped. Something about them looked fresh, too fresh, like someone had walked there not long ago. I knelt down and touched the edge of one print. It was warm, still warm. I stood up fast and backed away. I looked into the woods, but I couldn't see anything. Just trees and shadows. But I knew something was in there, watching, waiting. My hands were shaking. I looked back at the empty grave, at the clothes, at the leaves. Michael wasn't there. He had never been there. They buried lies, and whatever came out of that coffin, it was walking around somewhere, not dead, not resting alive in some way I didn't understand. And it wasn't far. I turned off the flashlight and ran Dot all the way back to the car. I didn't look back, because I knew if I did, I might see something following me, and I wasn't ready for that. I'm recording this now because I don't know what else to do. Maybe no one will hear it. Maybe someone will. But if something happens to me, I want people to know what really happened. It's been 4 days since I opened the grave, since I found those footprints, since I realized my brother was never buried. I haven't left the house. Since then, I keep the lights on all night. I push furniture against the doors. I don't sleep much. Strange things keep happening. The basement door is open every morning. I lock it. I push a chair in front of it. But when I wake up, it's wide open. One night, I heard someone walking in the kitchen. I sat in my room, holding a knife. I didn't move. I just listened. The footsteps stopped at my door, but no one knocked. No one tried to come in. They just stood there, breathing, soft and slow. Then they walked away. Last night, I heard something worse. I was in bed, staring at the ceiling, when I heard a voice. It came from the hallway. It said my name, Daniel. I froze. It sounded just like Michael. but I know that can't be. I didn't answer, I didn't move. Then I heard it again, closer this time. "Daniel, let me in." I sat up and whispered, "No." The voice laughed. It didn't sound right. It was too low. Like something was copying my brother, trying to trick me. It knocked 3 times, just like in the journal. Then everything went quiet again. Now it's almost morning. I haven't slept. The lights are still on, but I feel cold. I keep hearing things moving in the walls, and I swear I just heard the front door unlock. I know I locked it. I checked it 5 times. I don't know if I'm going crazy, or if something followed me back from that grave, but I know what I saw on that tape. Michael was changing, and I think he's still out there. I keep thinking about the last line in his journal. I woke up with dirt under my nails. Now I have the same thing. Every morning, my fingernails are packed with dirt. I don't remember going outside, but I think I've been digging too. There's something else. When I looked in the mirror this morning, I saw someone behind me, just for a second. He looked like Michael, same eyes, same mouth, but he wasn't breathing, and he smiled. Wait, I just heard something upstairs. A door just opened, not slowly, fast. I'm in the living room now, holding this recorder. The hallway light just turned off. No one's here but me. I can hear footsteps. They're coming down the stairs. I'm going to turn around in a second. I just don't want to. Daniel. He just said my name again. Right behind me, it's Michael's voice. But I know it's not him. He was never buried, and now he's here. He's standing right behind me. spent one night in my childhood home. The walls called me by name. He thought the house was just old, forgotten, but the walls remembered him and they whispered like they had been waiting. It started with a letter, a real one. Not an email, not a call, just a plain white envelope. No return address, sitting in my mailbox. Inside was a short note. Your uncle has passed. The house now belongs to you. The key is enclosed. Do what you want with it. No name, no signature. Just that, and a small silver key taped to the bottom of the paper. I stared at the letter for a long time. I hadn't seen or heard from my uncle. In years, we weren't close. He lived in the same house where I grew up. The house I left when I was 17 and never went back to. I hated that place. It always felt wrong to me. The halls were too quiet. The rooms felt cold, even in summer. And sometimes, at night, I thought I heard someone whispering my name from inside the walls. Everyone said I was imagining it. Maybe I was. But even now, just thinking about that house made my stomach turn. I almost threw the key away, but something stopped me. I don't know what. Curiosity, maybe. Or guilt. Or maybe I just wanted to prove to myself that it was all in my head. So I packed a small bag, got in my car, and drove back to the town I thought I'd never see again. It took 5 hours. I didn't play music. I didn't stop for food. I just drove. The closer I got, the worse I felt. Like something inside me was trying to crawl out. When I reached the edge of the old neighborhood, I slowed down. Everything looked smaller. The streetlights were dim. The yards were dry and empty. Then I saw it, my old house. The roof was worn. The paint was cracked. But it looked exactly the same, like it had been waiting for me. Parked at the curb and sat in the car for a minute. The key felt cold in my hand. I stepped out and walked up to the front door. The porch creaked under my feet. I pushed the key into the lock and turned it. Click, the door swung open. The smell hit me first. Dust, wood, something older underneath. I stepped inside. The floor groaned like it remembered me. I stood in the doorway for a long time, just staring at the living room. Everything was still there. The old couch, the bookshelf, the painting with the crooked frame. I don't know why, but I said out loud, I'm just staying one night. Like I had to say it. Like the house needed to hear it. I didn't know it yet, but something was already listening, and it remembered my name. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. The lock clicked on its own. I paused. Maybe the door was just old. Maybe the frame had shifted. I told myself not to be jumpy, but the air inside didn't feel right. It was thick, heavy, like the whole house had been holding its breath. The living room looked almost exactly the same. Same couch, same bookshelf, same coffee table with a scratch on the side from when I was 6. There was dust on everything, thick and grey, like no one had touched anything in years. I walked over to the fireplace. The old family photo was still there. Me, Mum, Dad, and Uncle Ray, all smiling, all pretending. I picked it up. The glass was cracked. I didn't remember that. I moved through the hallway. The floor creaked under my feet with every step. The sound echoed a little too loud, too sharp, like someone was listening in the kitchen. The table was still set for 4. Plates, cups, silverware, all covered in dust. I stopped and stared at it. We hadn't eaten here in years. Why would the table still be set? It felt staged, like someone had set it just for me. just for tonight. I turned away and walked down the hall. I opened the door to my old bedroom. Everything was smaller than I remembered. The bed was still there. So was the desk. My old lamp with the dinosaur stickers. My drawings still taped to the wall, faded, curling at the edges. I stepped closer and touched one of them. A crayon drawing of a boy standing next to a tree, and something else behind the tree. A shape, all black. I had drawn eyes on it, just 2 white circles. I didn't remember making that. I looked under the bed, just dust. Still, I felt like something was in the room with me. I walked back into the hole and stopped at the bathroom. The mirror was fogged from age. I wiped it with my sleeve, behind me, in the reflection. I thought I saw someone walk past the hallway. I turned fast. No one was there, just the empty hall. I stared for a while, then said hello. No answer. I went back to the living room. I sat on the couch, just trying to breathe. My heart was beating too fast. Nothing had happened, really. But the house felt wrong. Not just old, not just creepy. It felt awake, like it knew I was here. I leaned back and closed my eyes. Then I heard something, a but soft sound, coming from inside the walls, like movement. I opened my eyes and sat up. I didn't hear it anymore. Maybe it was just the house settling. That's what people always say, right? But it didn't sound like wood or pipes. It sounded like something dragging its hand across the wall from the inside. I turned on a small lamp next to the couch and tried not to think about it. I told myself I was tired, that I was just hearing things, but deep down, I didn't believe that. Not really, because when I looked at the hallway again, I swear I saw a shadow move, and this time it was going the wrong way. After a while, I got off the couch and started walking through the house again. I wanted to check the bedrooms, maybe find something worth keeping. But really, I think I just didn't want to sit still. The house felt too quiet, too heavy. The first room I went into was my parents' old bedroom. It still had their smell, dust, fabric, something like old soap. The bed was made. The closet doors were shut. The mirror on the dresser was cracked. I opened a drawer and found a stack of yellow papers, letters, old bills, drawings I made when I was a kid. I sat on the bed and looked through them. One of the drawings was of our house. I had used blue for the roof and green for the grass, but something stood at the side of the house. A person, or maybe just a shape. It didn't have a face. It was drawn all black. No hands, no feet, just a dark figure standing near the wall. And I had written something under it. He lives inside. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't remember drawing it. I didn't remember writing those words. I folded it and put it in my pocket. Next, I checked the hallway closet. Old blankets, broken toys, a dusty photo album. I opened the album. The first few pictures were normal birthdays, school, my parents, smiling. Then I found a picture that made me stop. It was me, maybe 5 years old, standing in the hallway, but behind me, at the edge of the photo, something was wrong. The wallpaper looked stretched, like it had a bulge under it, like something was pushing out from the other side, and near my head, a small black smudge, almost like a shadowy hand reaching through. I slammed the album shut. My hands were shaking. I left the closet and went into my old bedroom again. Everything looked the same, but I felt different now, like the room was watching me. I walked to the closet and looked inside. Just boxes, shoes, My old backpack. I sat down at the desk and opened the bottom drawer. There was a small notebook inside. It was one I used to write. In when I was maybe 10 or 11, I flipped through the pages. Mostly random stuff, stories I never finished. Drawings, numbers. Then I found a page with just one sentence written over and over again. Don't talk back to the walls. Maybe 15 times. The handwriting was messy, not like the rest of the book. I turned the page. One sentence. It remembers. That's it. I didn't know what it meant, but something about it made my skin crawl. That's when I heard it. A soft sound, like someone breathing. I froze. It wasn't coming from the door. It wasn't from the hallway. It was coming from the wall behind the bed. Very slow, very soft, like something inside was asleep. And dreaming, I leaned closer. I didn't know why. I held my breath and listened. Another sound, a whisper. I couldn't hear the words. It was too faint, but it was there. I stepped back fast. My foot hit the edge of the desk and knocked over a pencil. Cup. The sound echoed too loud in the small room. I stood still, waiting. Nothing else happened, but I felt cold all over. Like the wall had been listening, like it knew. I had heard it. I left the room and closed the door behind me. I didn't go back in for the rest of the night, because I wasn't sure what was worse. That I might be hearing things or that maybe I wasn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the old couch in the living room, staring at the ceiling. The lamp beside me was still on. I didn't want to turn it off. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that drawing again. The black figure next to the house. And those words I wrote as a kid. He lives inside. I kept thinking about the noise I heard in my room earlier. The breathing behind the wall. I told myself it was just old pipes or the wind. I didn't believe it, but I tried. I turned on my side and pulled a blanket over me. Then I heard it. A voice, very soft. It said Daniel. I froze. At first, I thought I imagined it. I sat up and looked around the room. No one was there, just the ticking clock on the wall and the hum of the lamp. Then I heard it again, closer this time. Daniel. The voice wasn't coming from a room. It was coming from inside the wall. I stood up and walked toward the sound. Who's there? I whispered, no answer. I leaned close to the wall behind the couch. My ear almost touched it. The voice came again. Daniel, come here. I jumped back and held my breath. It sounded like someone I used to know. A little like my mom, but not. Quite too soft, too smooth. Like someone trying to sound like her. I walked down the hallway, turning on every light I passed. I checked the kitchen, the bathroom, the front door. Everything was still locked. Then I walked to my old bedroom. The door was open. I was sure I had closed it. I stepped inside. The air felt cold. The light above flickered once. Nothing looked touched, but it felt different. I stood in the middle of the room and listened. Silence then. A knock. 3 soft knocks from inside the wall, right behind the headboard. Stop it, I said. Stop messing with me. I waited. Nothing. I turned to leave. Then the voice came again, louder this time. Don't go. I ran out of the room and slammed the door behind me. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if I was going crazy, but I didn't want to hear that voice again. I stood in the hallway, shaking. Then I heard footsteps, slow, soft, coming from the attic above. but I was the only one in the house, at least. I thought I was. I grabbed my bag and headed to the front door. The lock was jammed. I turned it, pulled it. Nothing. It felt stuck, like the door didn't want to let me out. I hit it with my hand. Let me out. Behind me, the voice whispered again. Why did you leave me here? I turned fast. No one was there, but I knew it wasn't just a voice. Anymore, it was something. Something in the walls. Watching me, calling me by name. Like it remembered. Me, like it knew I'd come back. I ran back to the living room and turned off the lamp. I sat in the dark, holding my knees, staring at the wall across from me. I waited. Nothing. Just the sound of my own breathing. Then, very softly, so quiet, I almost missed it. I heard it one last time. Daniel, come inside. I didn't sleep that night, and I didn't go near the walls again. I thought I'd imagined the voice. I told myself maybe I was dreaming, but the next night, I heard something new. It came from above me, from the attic, a soft thump. Then another, like someone moving slowly up there. I waited for it to stop. It didn't. It sounded like something was walking back and forth, slow, heavy. I stood under the attic door for a long time, just listening. Then I pulled down the ladder. The steps creaked as I climbed up. I reached the top and turned on the attic light. It was dim, but I could see everything. Boxes, old furniture, dust floating in the air. Nothing moved, but I could still feel it, that heavy feeling in my chest, like something was watching me. I stepped inside. The air was thick and dry. I coughed a little dot. In the far corner was a small wooden rocking chair. It was mine. From when I was really little, I hadn't seen it in years. It was turned toward the wall, facing away from me. I walked closer, then it moved. Just a little. It rocked forward, then back. I stopped walking. The air felt colder near it. I didn't touch the chair. I just stood there and stared. It kept rocking, slow, back and forth, like someone had just stood up from it. But I was alone, wasn't I? Behind the chair, the wall caught my eye. Something was carved into it. I got closer and held up my flashlight. Tally marks, dozens of them, little scratches grouped in fives, over and over again, all over the wood. I looked around the rest of the attic. There were more, on the beams, on the floor, even on the back of the rocking chair. Then I saw something else. My name, Daniel, carved over and over. Some small, some big, some looked rushed, like they were scratched in fast. Some were neat, like someone took their time. I counted at least 20. Why would someone write my name all over the attic? I stepped back. My foot hit something metal. I looked down. It was a small toy car. One I used to play with. I picked it up. My name was written on the bottom in faded marker. I remembered it now. I had lost it when I was maybe 5. My mom said it probably got tossed out, but here it was. Sitting in the attic, I looked back at the wall. The chair had stopped moving. The tally marks, the carvings, they weren't random. Someone had been up here a long time, counting days, writing my name, waiting. Suddenly, I heard a sound below me. The attic ladder creaked. Someone was climbing up. Hello? I called out. No answer. I moved to the top of the ladder and looked down. No one was there, but the ladder was shaking, like someone had just stepped off. I turned around fast. The rocking chair was moving again, faster this time, back and forth, back and forth. I backed away and hit the light switch. Dark. I scrambled down the ladder and pulled it shut behind me. I didn't sleep again that night. Something was in that attic, and I think it had been there for years. Maybe since I was a kid. Maybe it never left. I didn't mean to fall asleep. I was sitting on the living room couch, staring at the hallway. I kept the lamp on. I didn't feel safe with it off. At some point, I guess I closed my eyes. When I woke up, something felt wrong. I was still on the couch. The lamp was still on, but the room looked different, softer, blurry around the edges, like a dream, or maybe not. I tried to sit up, but my body felt slow, like my arms and legs were heavy. Then I noticed the walls. They were moving, not shaking, not breaking, breathing. The wallpaper rose and fell, like lungs, slow and deep, in and out, in and out, in and out. I stared at it, frozen. Then I heard it again, my name, Daniel, but this time the voice wasn't soft. It was low, deep, and it came from every wall, like the whole house was speaking at once. You came back, it said. I couldn't speak. My mouth wouldn't open. Something was left behind, it said. The walls pulsed again, like they were alive. I saw the paint crack. The corners of the room stretched, like the house was growing. I tried to stand up, but I fell to the floor. The carpet felt wet. I looked down, dark spots, like something had soaked through from underneath. It smelled like dirt, old, wet dirt. The voice came again. You forgot us, Daniel. I crawled toward the hallway, pulling myself forward. The light flickered. All the doors were gone. Only walls now. 4 long walls, breathing in and out. No way out. Then I saw something move behind the wallpaper. A shape. It pushed against the wall, stretching the surface like rubber. A face. No mouth, just deep eye holes. It pressed harder, trying to push through. Let me out, it whispered. I backed away. Another shape pushed through on the other side of the room. Then another, all silent. All watching. The house groaned like it was full of things inside the walls, waiting, calling me. The ceiling above me cracked. Dust fell down onto my face. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The voice spoke again, not loud, but everywhere. 1. Night is not enough. You lived here once. You belong to us. I covered my ears. Wake up, I whispered. Wake up. Everything around me pulsed harder. The wallpaper peeled away in long strips, revealing the inside of the walls. Not wood, not wires, just dark space, and something moving inside it then. I saw the small door. It wasn't there before. A tiny wooden door where the fireplace used to be. It creaked open on its own dark inside, but I saw hands, small, grey hands reaching out. They didn't grab me, they just pointed at me like I was the one out of place. Suddenly I felt cold all over, like the house wasn't trying to hurt me. It was showing me something, telling me a secret I had forgotten, something I left behind, something I had locked away when I was little. I woke up gasping. Back on the couch, the light was still on. The walls weren't moving. Everything looked normal again, but I could still feel it. That breathing, that voice, like it had sunk into my skin, like I had brought something back with me from wherever I had just been. If that was a dream, why were my hands covered in dust? And why was there dirt under my fingernails? I didn't plan to go back into my old bedroom, but around midnight, I heard the noise again. It started in the hallway, soft, footsteps, then something dragged along the wall, slow, scratching. I grabbed my flashlight and followed the sound. It led me to my bedroom door. The handle felt cold. I pushed it open. The room was dark. I hadn't turned the light on since the first night, but now I stepped inside. I could still feel the wall watching me. The scratching sound was louder here. It was coming from behind the wall, the one by the closet. I walked over and tapped. It bored hollow. I ran my fingers along the edge of the wallpaper. Then I felt something strange, a bump, like a square outline under the paper. I peeled it back. There was a small wooden panel, no handle, just a round notch for pulling. I hesitated, then I gripped the notch and pulled. The panel creaked open. Behind it was a dark space, a tiny room dot. Was just big enough for a child to crawl into. I aimed the flashlight inside. There was no window, no light, just an old blanket in the corner, a cracked mirror on the wall, and scratches all over on the floor, on the wood, on the mirror itself, deep. Lines, like someone had clawed at the walls, trying to get out. My chest felt tight. Something about this space felt too familiar. I crawled inside. The air was thick. Dust covered everything. I sat down on the blanket and looked at the mirror. There was something. Drawn in the corner, a small smiley face, carved with something sharp. I touched it, suddenly. I remembered I used to come here when I was little. I used to hide in this tiny room, but I didn't remember why. I didn't remember how I even found it, but now it all came back. I remembered crawling in here with a flashlight, hugging the blanket, watching the mirror, waiting for the noise outside the wall to stop. I remembered the voice that whispered to me through the cracks. It told me to stay quiet. It told me not to move. I remembered holding my breath when footsteps walked past the door. I remembered counting scratches to calm myself, and I remembered crying in here for hours, sometimes all night, but I couldn't remember who or what I was hiding from. Just the feeling that I was in danger, that something out there was waiting for me to come out. I turned toward the mirror again. Something was written on the back, scratched into the wood. 3 words, "You left me." My hand shook. I backed out of the tiny room and shut the panel. I didn't want to look at it anymore. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. I had forgotten this place, but it hadn't forgotten me. That small room, it was part of my life, part of my fear, and now that I'd opened it again, whatever I was, hiding from it new, I remembered, and I think it was coming back. I didn't sleep after finding that little room. I just sat on the bed, staring at the wall. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The message in the mirror kept playing in my head. You left me. I started to remember more, not just bits and pieces, real memories. That room behind the wall, it wasn't a secret place. It was a hiding spot, because someone used to lock me in there. I didn't remember who, not clearly. Maybe it was my uncle, maybe even my parents. But I remembered being scared, remembered the sound of the door slamming shut, and I remembered crying alone in the dark. But I wasn't always alone. There was someone else in the walls, not in the same room, but close. I used to hear them moving behind it wood. They would whisper to me through tiny cracks. They would tap back when I knocked. They would hum soft songs when I couldn't sleep, and I used to talk to them. I even gave them a name. I think it was Milo. That's what I called him. Milo, are you there? I'd whisper, and he'd knock once, or hum something. He never scared me. Not back then. He made me feel safe. Safer than the people outside the walls ever did. I used to think Milo was imaginary, a pretend friend I made up to get through those nights. But now I don't think he was pretend at all. I think he was real. I got up and went back to the wall panel. I didn't open it this time. I just stood there. My hand touched the wood. It felt warmer than the rest of the wall. I whispered, Milo. No answer. I waited a few seconds. Then I heard a soft tap. One, then another. I stepped back fast. No, I said. No, that's not real. But something moved behind the wall again. A soft dragging sound, like fingers brushing across the inside. I remembered more. Milo used to say things when I cried. He'd whisper, "You're not alone. Don't leave me here. We belong in the dark." I thought those were just games, but now they feel different. Now they feel like warnings. I walked to the hallway mirror, looked at myself, and for a second, just 1 second, I saw someone else standing behind me. A shadow, no face, no mouth, just dark eyes, watching me from the corner of the hallway. When I turned around, nothing was there, but I felt him still watching, still waiting, back in the living room. I sat on the couch and pulled the blanket tight. I remembered the way. I used to curl up like that as a kid, like I was hiding from something that lived in the walls, something no one else ever saw. The more I remembered, the worse it got. I don't think Milo was just a voice. I think he was trapped here, left behind. Like me, maybe he never left, and maybe he doesn't want me to leave either. I looked down at my hands. They were dirty again, dust under my nails. Just like when I was a kid, had I been crawling through the walls again? I couldn't remember, but the house did, and so did Milo. I decided to leave. I didn't want to stay one more minute in that house. I grabbed my bag and ran to the front door. I turned the lock. Nothing. I pulled harder. The door didn't move. I tried the back door next. Same thing, stuck tight, like it was sealed shut. "Come on," I whispered. "Let me out." Then I heard it, a voice from behind me. It sounded like my mum. She said, "Where are you going, sweetheart?" I turned fast. No one was there, but the air felt full, like the house was breathing again. Then another voice came, from the wall to my left. My dad's voice. "Don't cry, Daniel, you're fine." Then my uncle's voice, rough, cold. "You always were a strange little thing." I backed up. I covered my ears. But the voices didn't stop. They came from every wall, every room all at once. Some were soft, some were mean, some were whispering, some were yelling. "Why did you leave? We missed you. Come back inside. You never should have left." I dropped to the floor and yelled, "Stop." Then one voice came through, clearer than the rest. It was the one I remembered from behind the walls. The one that used to whisper to me when I was little. I kept you safe. I looked around, shaking. "From what?" I asked. There was a pause. Then it said, "From them." Suddenly I remembered everything. The little room, the darkness, the hiding, the voice that stayed with me, that told me stories, that warned me when someone was coming. Milo didn't scare me back then. He protected me. because the people outside the walls, they were worse. Now he wanted me back. The house did too. I wasn't just visiting, I was home, and the house remembered. I'm sitting in the little room now, the one behind the wall, the one I used to hide in when I was a kid. It hasn't changed. Same cracked mirror, same scratch marks, same blanket. I fit inside better than I thought I would. Almost like I never grew up. The house is quiet now. No voices, no knocking, no breathing. It's still like it's waiting. Or maybe it doesn't need to say anything anymore, because I finally answered. I came back here to stay for one night, just one. But the house had other plans. Or maybe it always knew I would return. Maybe that was the plan all along. I remember everything now. The nights I spent crying in this room, the fear, the silence, the voice in the walls. Milo, he never left me. Not really, I just stopped listening. I shut him out. I shut out all of it. Pretended I had a normal life. Pretended I was fine. But the truth is, I never left this house. Not in my head, not in my dreams. Part of me stayed behind in this tiny room, locked away. I used to wait for someone to find me, to open the wall and pull me out, but no one came. So Milo stayed with me. He whispered stories. He told me jokes. He told me not to be afraid. Now that I think about it, maybe he was afraid too. Maybe we kept each other company. I used to blame him for the things I heard, the things I saw, but he was the only one who ever talked to me like I mattered. The only one who asked if I was okay, and now he's quiet too. He's here, but he doesn't have to speak anymore. I don't know how long I've been in here. A few hours, a day. It's hard to tell, but I don't feel scared anymore. I just feel still, like everything has settled, like something has finally ended. Or maybe something has finally started. I hear footsteps sometimes, but I don't check. I don't need to. I know the house is moving again, breathing again, but not because it's angry, because I'm where I'm supposed to be. I don't know if I'll ever leave. Maybe I already did. Maybe I never left at all. Maybe I just walked in circles and ended up back where I started, sitting in the dark, listening to the house, feeling the walls around me. I thought I came here to let go, but I think the house was holding on to me all this time. It remembered me, and now I remember it. And that little voice I used to hear, I think I'm the one whispering now. Maybe if you come close enough to the wall, you'll hear me too. They found a phone buried in the grave. It was still recording. The burial went as planned. Until the workers hit something strange. A phone still recording, deep inside the coffin. I went to Ethan's funeral last Thursday. We hadn't talked in years. Maybe 5, maybe more. Still, I felt like I had to go. We grew up on the same street, played tag in each other's yards, shared secrets no one else knew. Then we got older. Life got busy. We stopped calling. Now he was gone. There weren't many people at the service, just his parents, his brother Matt, and a few quiet faces I didn't recognize. The sky was grey. The ground was soft under my shoes. Someone read a few words from a folded paper. I didn't really hear them. I just kept staring at the coffin. It didn't feel real. Ethan wasn't supposed to die this young. He was 26. No one would tell me exactly how it happened. Matt just said he wasn't well near the end. After the burial, I walked over to Ethan's parents. His mum looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. His dad shook my hand but didn't say anything. Matt gave me a short hug. "Thanks for coming," he said. "What happened to him?" I asked. Matt looked away. He just wasn't sleeping. He said weird stuff sometimes, heard things. I waited, but he didn't say more. I didn't push. I nodded and stepped back. Most people had left by then. I stood by the grave a few minutes longer. The ground was fresh, the dirt still loose. Flowers lay on top in a messy pile. I felt weird, not sad exactly, just heavy, like something was still unfinished. I turned to go, then I heard it. A faint sound behind me. I stopped. It was coming from the grave. I turned slowly. The sound was soft, like a low buzzing, the kind a phone makes when it's on vibrate. I stared at the ground. The sound stopped. I waited. Nothing. Maybe. It was just in my head. Maybe someone's phone nearby. I looked around. No one close. I knelt beside the grave. Put my hand on the dirt, got cold. Still, I held my breath and listened. Nothing now. I stood up and brushed off my hands. It had to be nothing. My ears playing tricks. But the feeling didn't go away. It stayed with me all the way home. Like something had been trying to get my attention. And I ignored it. 2 days after the funeral, my phone rang. It was early, around 7 o'clock in the morning. I was still in bed, half asleep. The number wasn't saved in my contacts, just a bunch of numbers I didn't know. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press play on the voicemail. At first, it was just static, loud and sharp. I held the phone away from my ear. Then it went quiet. I waited, then I heard it. A voice faint, like it was far away. It said my name, double quotes, Daniel. I sat up straight. The voice only said it once. Then the static came back. And then, nothing. The message ended. I played it again. This time I turned up the volume and listened close. Still the same, static. My name, then silence. But the voice, it sounded familiar. I knew it. I was sure it sounded like Ethan. I stared at the screen. My hands felt cold. I didn't move for a while. I just kept thinking, that can't be him. He's dead. But the voice, it wasn't just similar, it was him. I got up and went to the kitchen. I didn't even make coffee. I just sat at the table, replaying the message over and over. Each time, it felt worse, like the voice was sinking deeper into my head. I didn't tell anyone. What was I supposed to say? Hey, I think my dead friend just called me. No one would believe me. Maybe I didn't believe it either, but I couldn't forget it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing that one word, Daniel. It played in my head like a broken song. Over and over, Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. I lay in bed with the lights on. My eyes were open. I wasn't really tired. I just kept thinking about something from a long time ago. When we were kids, Ethan and I used to talk about scary stuff. Ghosts, monsters, death. We made a dumb little pact once, just for fun. I remember the day we were lying on the grass behind my house, and he said, "If I die first, I'll find a way to say goodbye." I laughed and said, "Same." Then we pinky swore on it, like it was a real promise. I hadn't thought about that in years. Not until now. Now, I couldn't stop thinking about it. What if this was him keeping the promise? What if the message wasn't a mistake? What if he really found a way? I picked up the phone again. I played the message one more time, static. Then his voice, "Daniel." That was it, just that. But it didn't sound like a goodbye. It sounded like a start. I got a call from Matt the next morning, Ethan's brother. I hadn't heard from him since the funeral. His voice sounded tight, like he was breathing too fast. "Daniel," he said, "you need to come over, now." "What's going on?" I asked. "They found something," he said, "at the cemetery, near Ethan's grave." 20 minutes later, I pulled into Matt's driveway. He was already outside, pacing. He looked worse than before, pale eyes red, hands shaking. He didn't say hello. He just walked up to me and said, "They found a phone." "A phone?" I asked. "What do you mean?" Matt nodded fast. "The groundskeeper was doing routine work. You know, leveling out the soil, and his shovel hit something hard. He dug it up, and it was a phone." Matt looked at me. "It was still on, Daniel," he said. "It was still recording." He led me inside. On the kitchen table was an old, dirty smartphone. The screen was cracked. The back was scratched up, but it was still on. Matt sat down and opened the voice recorder app. "There's one file," he said. 16 minutes long. It was saved yesterday. After the funeral, he pressed play. The first minute was nothing, just soft background noise, a hum, maybe the wind, maybe just static. We sat there in silence, listening. Then I heard something, a small rustling sound, like cloth moving, or fingers brushing against something soft. I leaned closer. Then I heard a breath, one long, slow breath, right up against the mic. "Ethan," I whispered. Matt didn't answer. At minute 5, the breathing got louder. Whoever it was, they were close to the phone, very close. Then, at minute 7, I heard a voice, faint, shaky. "Where am I?" It was Ethan, no doubt in my mind. He sounded scared, confused, like he was waking up somewhere dark. I felt cold all over. He kept whispering things I don't understand. "It's too dark. I can't move." Then a pause. A long one. Nothing but silence and breathing. Then, at minute 10, I heard something new, a second voice. Not Ethan's single quotes. Low wet, like it was speaking through water. "Stay down." Matt froze. We both stared at the phone. Ethan spoke again, louder now. "Who's there? What do you want?" Then the low voice said, "Don't remember. Don't move. Stay down." Ethan started breathing fast. You could hear him crawling, maybe dragging himself. Then something banged, a loud thud, like a fist hitting wood. Ethan screamed. It didn't even sound like him anymore, just raw fear. At minute 13. The phone picked up more noise, scratching from all sides, and whispers, not just one voice now, several, all around the mic. Too many to understand, but one thing came through clearly. A whisper in the back said, "He hears us." Then Ethan said something I'll never forget. "Daniel, don't come looking." I sat back in my chair. My heart was pounding. Matt paused the recording. We didn't say anything for a while. Finally, I asked, "How did the phone even get in there?" Matt shook his head. "I don't know. We never buried it with him." "I'm sure of that. Then how?" "I don't know," he said again. "But it was under the dirt, right next to his coffin. Like someone or something put it there." I stared at the phone. The screen was still glowing, still recording. I waited until I got home to listen to the file again. I needed to hear it alone. Matt had already played it for me once at his place, but my brain couldn't process it. It felt too unreal, too wrong. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept hearing Ethan's voice in my head, so I sat on the edge of my bed, plugged in my headphones, and hit play. The first minute was quiet, just a low hum, some faint wind, a click, maybe dirt settling. I turned up the volume. Then I heard its low breathing, like someone lying flat, trying to stay calm. Long inhales, slow exhales. It sounded too close to the mic, like the phone was pressed to someone's chest. At minute 3, the breathing turned shaky, like whoever it was had just woken up. They whispered something I couldn't make out. I replayed that part 3 times. Still too soft. At minute 5, I finally heard it. A voice, a whisper. "Where am I?" I froze. It was Ethan. He sounded scared. His voice was dry, like his throat hurt. He kept mumbling, "It's dark. I can't move. Why is it so cold?" He started crying, soft, quiet sobs. I felt sick to my stomach. At minute 7, something tapped the mic once, then twice. Then I heard a new sound. Scratching. Not like nails on a surface. More like something inside the walls. Digging, the mic picked up, rustling, like Ethan had rolled over or tried to crawl. Then he gasped, "Who's there?" He sounded terrified, but no one answered. At minute 10, the whole recording changed. The static grew louder. A second voice came in, low, wet, like it was bubbling. I couldn't understand the words, but it was definitely talking. It sounded too close to the mic, like it was right there. Then Ethan whispered again, "Please, please, let me go." The second voice growled something. Ethan screamed. It wasn't loud. It was sharp, like a scream through gritted teeth. Then Ethan said something strange. The door. I didn't open it. I didn't want to. It told me to. His voice started glitching, like a bad connection. Words cutting in and out. I rewound and listened again. He said something like, "It knows your name now. Then don't answer the call." At minute 13, his voice changed. It wasn't scared anymore. It sounded flat, empty, like something else was using it. He said, "Daniel." I paused the audio. That was my name. He said it just like in the voicemail. I didn't want to keep going, but I had to. I pressed play again. There was a long silence. Then a new voice came through. Not Ethan, not even human. It was wet, broken, like it didn't know how to form words. But it tried. I couldn't understand most of it. Just one part, he let it out. Then more scratching. Faster now. More voices. Layered under the main one. Some were whispering. Others screaming. Then everything cut out. The last sound was Ethan. He whispered, "Don't dig." And then the file ended. Just like that, I sat there, headphones still in, staring at the screen. My room felt smaller, like the walls had moved in a little. I couldn't breathe right. That wasn't just a recording, it was something else. Something still listening after I heard the full recording. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I tried to go on with my day like nothing happened, but the sound of Ethan's voice, it stayed in my head, over and over, that last part when he said my name, and the other voice said he let it out. I uploaded the file to my computer. I opened an audio program and started messing with it. First, I slowed the recording down, then I reversed parts of it, cut up the audio into smaller clips. At first, it just sounded like noise, clicks, static, breathing, but then I heard something under the noise. Not loud, but there like whispers. I turned the volume all the way up and I heard it again, a soft voice behind Ethan's saying, "Put it back." I replayed it 5 times. It always said the same thing. Then, in another part of the clip, I heard, "He remembers too much." That one made my skin crawl. It didn't sound like Ethan, and it didn't sound like anyone else. I knew. I spent hours listening. I didn't eat. I didn't move. Every time I thought I found something new, I saved it by midnight. I had almost 20 clips labeled whisper_put_it_back whisper_04_he_knows breathing_loop_3x name_call_Daniel. I shouldn't have kept going, but I did. I needed to know what this thing was. At 2 a.m., I shut everything off and went to bed. I left my phone in the other room. I didn't want to look at it. I lay there, eyes open, heart racing. That's when I heard it. Not in my head, not from the computer, from inside my room, a whisper, soft, right next to my ear. "Daniel." I sat up fast, looked around. No one was there. I turned on the light. The room was empty. I checked my phone, it was off. I checked the hallway dash. Nothing but the whisper still echoed in my head. I didn't sleep. I stayed up in the living room, lights on, holding my keys. I thought about leaving, but where would I go? The sound, the voice, it wasn't coming from one place. It felt like it was coming through things, like it was hiding in the wires, the screens, the static. The next night, it got worse. I was brushing my teeth. The mirror fogged up from the hot water when I wiped it. Clean. I saw a word written across the glass. Back. Just that. Nothing else. I didn't move. I stared at it. I didn't write it. No one else was in the apartment. I watched as the letters slowly faded on their own. Later that night, I opened my closet to get a sweater. It was just clothes, as usual, but the air inside the closet felt thick. I turned to walk away and then I heard it again, clearer this time, from inside the closet. "He remembers too much." I slammed the door shut and pushed a chair in front of it. I didn't sleep that night either. I just sat on the couch and stared at the closet. Waiting. Something was in my home now. It wasn't just the recording. Whatever was speaking through that phone, I think it followed me out, and now it won't leave. I didn't plan to go back to the cemetery. Not at night, not alone. But I kept hearing Ethan's voice in my dreams. Every night, the same thing. He would whisper, help me. Then I'd wake up, sweating, heart racing, feeling like someone had been watching me by the third night. I couldn't take it anymore. I got in my car and drove to the cemetery. It was almost midnight. When I got there, the gate was open. No one around. I parked outside and walked in with a flashlight in my hand. I didn't even need to check the map. I remembered where they buried him, row 7, far corner. I found his grave right away. The dirt was still soft. The grass hadn't grown in yet. His name was carved in smooth stone. Ethan R. Hale, 1997 to 2023. I stood there, staring at it for a long time. Then I sat down on the ground beside it. I didn't know what I was doing. I just whispered, "Ethan." Nothing. I looked at the grave. "I heard your voice," I said. "I heard you on the phone." Still nothing. I waited. A minute passed. Maybe more. Then something strange happened. My phone turned on. I didn't touch it. It had been off the whole time. Now the screen lit up, bright in the dark. It opened the voice recorder app all by itself, and then it played the file, the same one Matt and I listened to, the one I swore I wouldn't play again. I tried to stop it, but the screen froze. I tapped the pause button. Nothing happened. The audio kept playing. The breathing, the whispers, Ethan's voice asking where he was. It was the same recording until the very end. That part was different. After Ethan says, "Don't dig," there was a pause. Then something else spoke. A voice I hadn't heard before. It wasn't Ethan. It was lower, deeper, not human, and it said, "Not alone." I held the phone tight. Then it said, "You're next." I dropped the phone. It landed face down on the grass. Still playing, I backed away from it. That's when I saw it. The dirt behind the headstone, it moved. Just a little, like something under. The ground had shifted. I froze. It happened again. A small bump in the soil. I stared, too scared to move. Was it the wind? No. The trees were still. The grass wasn't moving. Only the dirt, like something was trying to rise up. I grabbed my phone and ran. Didn't even turn off the recording. I just ran to the gate, back to my car. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely get the key in. I didn't stop shaking until I was halfway home. When I finally looked at the phone again, the screen was black dot. The file was gone, deleted. But I know what I heard. "Not alone, you're next." I don't know what I brought home with me, but I haven't slept since. Because now, I hear Ethan's voice in the walls, and sometimes I think I hear something scratching from underneath my floor. My phone started acting weird after I came back from the graveyard. Apps opened on their own. Text I didn't type showed up in my notes. But the worst part was the voicemails. I got 5 new ones overnight, but my phone never rang. I just woke up and saw them sitting there. 5 grey dots. No caller ID. I pressed play on the first one. Nothing but static. Then a soft click, like someone tapping glass. Then a voice whispered, "Don't look in the mirror." That's it, just those 5 words. I checked my front door, locked. Windows 2, no one could have gotten in. I played the second voicemail. It started with slow breathing, then a whisper, "It's already in your house." My blood went cold. I ran to the kitchen and turned every light on. Then I stood in the middle of the room, holding my phone like a weapon. I didn't know what I was even looking for. A person, a shadow. Nothing moved, but I didn't feel alone. I played the third voicemail. It was louder. The voice was deep, not human. I couldn't make out the words, just low sounds, humming, growling. Then it said, "Answer it." I didn't know what it was, and I didn't want to find out. I skipped the fourth one. I wasn't ready. Instead, I opened my camera app. I don't know why, just a weird feeling. When I checked my photo gallery, I froze. There were new photos there, all taken last night. All close-up, shots of me sleeping. I live alone, there is no one else here, and I never took those pictures. Some were from the side of the bed, some from above, like someone was leaning over. Me in one, my eye was half open, like I had almost woken up. I dropped the phone, I actually dropped it. It hit the floor hard and bounced under the table. I had to crawl to grab it. When I picked it up, the screen flickered. Another voicemail appeared. The fifth one just popped in on its own. I sat on the floor and pressed play. Right away, I knew the voice. It was Ethan, he was yelling. His voice was cracked and full of fear. He said, "Don't answer it." Then the audio, glitched. His voice twisted. He screamed the words again, "Don't answer it." Then static, then silence. The message stopped. I sat there for a long time, just holding the phone. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Then the screen turned black. All 5 voicemails were gone. I checked the gallery again. The sleeping photos, gone too. But I remember every single one that night. I covered the mirror in my hallway. I shoved a chair under the bedroom door, and I turned my phone off, or at least, I tried. But every time I powered it down, it turned itself back on, and now the wallpaper had changed. Black screen. One word in white letters, listening. I called Matt the next morning. He didn't answer the first time. When he finally picked up, he sounded tired. "Hey," I said. "Can we talk?" There was a pause. Then he said, "Yeah, come over." When I got to his house, he opened the door and stepped aside without saying anything. He looked worse than before. Dark circles under his eyes. Pale, like he hadn't slept. We sat at his kitchen table again. Same spot where we listened to the recording. I didn't waste time. "Matt," I said, "what was Ethan into before he died?" The truth. He looked down. At the table, his fingers tapped the wood. Then he nodded. "I guess I should have told you sooner," he said, "but I didn't think it mattered." He got up and walked to a drawer. He pulled out a small notebook, worn black cover. "This was his," Matt said. He handed it to me. I opened it. The first few pages were drawings, circles, static lines, some kind of symbols, then writing page after page. All in Ethan's handwriting. He wrote about hearing voices in white noise, how he stayed up all night recording static from his radio. He said sometimes the static would talk back. One line said, "It hides in sound. It rides memory. It wants names." Another said, "You can't see it. You can only hear it." I looked up at Matt. "What is this?" He rubbed his hands together. He was obsessed with EVP, Matt said. Electronic voice phenomenon. He thought he could talk to something, like ghosts. I asked. Matt shook his head. "No, not ghosts. Something else." He leaned forward. "A few weeks before he died, he told me something strange. He said something had attached itself to him, that it spoke through phones, radios, recordings, anything that made sound." I didn't say anything, just kept flipping through the pages. The last one had only a short sentence. If I bury it, maybe it will stay. Matt pointed at that line. That's why he buried the phone, he said. He thought it was the only way to trap it. And you didn't believe him? I asked. He looked ashamed. I thought he was losing it. I told him to get help. He paused. But now, after that recording, after the voicemails, I'm not so sure anymore. We sat there in silence. I looked at Ethan's notebook again. All the writing, the drawings, the warnings. He'd been scared. He knew something was following him, and no one listened. Now, it was following me. I stood up. Matt looked at me. What are you gonna do? I didn't answer because I didn't know. As I walked out the door, Matt said, "One more thing." His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "Daniel, if it came back, maybe." It never left. It happened late at night. I was on the couch, staring at the wall, holding Ethan's notebook. I hadn't slept in 2 days. That's when my phone lit up. No ringtone, just a bright screen, and the words, "Incoming call, number." Number, no name, just those 2 words. I didn't want to answer, but my thumb moved on its own. I pressed accept. At first, it was just static, loud and sharp. Then quiet, then a voice, Ethan's voice. He sounded weak, slower than before. He said, "It needs someone new." I gripped the phone tighter. He kept going. "Don't listen. Don't repeat this." Then, there was a long pause, and he said, "I'm sorry." The call ended. The second it ended, everything changed. The lights in the house flickered, then they turned off. All of them. My TV flashed on by itself. Just static, the microwave beeped. My laptop powered up on its own. Every screen was on. Every device, the same word glowed on every screen. Listening. Then my phone buzzed again. It got hot in my hand. Too hot. I dropped it on the floor. It didn't stop. The flashlight on the back came on bright, flickering, like it was trying to shine on something. I picked it up and saw the recorder app had opened. It was recording, but I didn't start it. No. One did, and the timer kept ticking up. 001, 002, 00:03, ... Recording what? Then a knock at the door, 3 knocks, ... Not fast, not slow, ... Just steady. I froze, didn't move. Another knock. I walked to the door with the phone still in my hand. The flashlight pointed at the floor, shaking with my grip. I stood there, heart racing. I didn't ask who is it. I didn't say anything. I just opened the door, ... Fast. Nothing was there. No one on the porch. No car, no wind. Just dark, and right in the middle of the doorway a phone. Not mine, old, dirty, just like the one from the grave. The screen was cracked. The recorder was on. Timer running, just like mine. I stepped back and closed the door slowly, locked it. Then I looked down at my own phone. Still recording, still glowing. Both phones, still recording, still listening. If you're hearing this, I'm sorry I didn't want to send it, but I had to. It won't stop unless I do, unless someone else listens. I don't even know if this is me talking anymore. I feel like I'm watching myself speak from far away, like something else is using my voice now. I've been recording this message for hours, maybe days. I'm not sure anymore. I don't sleep. I don't eat. I just sit here and talk. It told me to. It wants me to tell you it needs someone new. It started with a voice. One word. then a call, then a whisper. That's how it moves, through sound, not through touch, not through sight, just sound. If you ever listened to Ethan's voice, if you ever played that recording, if you even heard me say his name, knows you now. It hears everything. I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was grief or stress, but it wasn't in my head. It's real, it's here, and now I think it's inside me. You remember the phones, how they kept recording? That wasn't an accident. That's how it spreads. It listens. And once you listen back, it never leaves. I found more voicemails this morning on a new phone, a phone I've never seen before. They were already there, 5 files, all named the same thing. Keep listening. I pressed play. I shouldn't have. The voice on the first one was mine, but I don't remember saying those words. The second one was Ethan, crying, begging, screaming. The third one, I don't want to talk. About the third one now, I can't stop hearing it, in the fan, in the shower, in my own heartbeat. It speaks through everything, through anything that echoes, through anything that hums, it said. Voices hold doors open. Memory keeps them unlocked. Grief pulls them wide. I don't know what it means, but I think Ethan understood it. And he tried to close the door by burying the phone. But I dug it up, and now I've opened it again. You're probably wondering why I'm telling you all this. It's not to warn you. It's too late for that. You've already heard too much. You kept listening, just like I did. If you try to stop now, it doesn't matter. It already knows your voice. It already knows your name. It knows what you regret, what you miss, who you lost. It waits in all the quiet places, in the silence, between thoughts, in the static before a call connects. So if your phone starts to buzz in the middle of the night, if you hear your name whispered when no one's around, if your mirror fogs up and something's written there, don't answer it. Don't speak, don't press play. Actually, never mind. There's no point, because you already did. My father went missing in 1996. I just got a voicemail from him. He vanished decades ago. No trace, no goodbye. But yesterday, the phone buzzed, and it was his voice still calling for help. When I was 8 years old, my dad vanished. One day he was here, making coffee in the kitchen. The next day, gone. No goodbye, no note, no sign of struggle. His truck was still in the driveway. His wallet and keys were on the counter, but he was gone. The police came, they searched. The woods, the river, his job site. Nothing, no body, no clue, no answers. People said maybe he ran off. Maybe he didn't want to be a dad anymore. That's what my mom told me too. He left, she said. Sometimes people just leave, but I never believed that my dad loved me. I remembered the way he smiled, the way he held my hand when we crossed the street, the way he tucked me in at night and said, "You're safe." He would never leave me. Years passed. I grew up, moved out, got a job. We stopped talking about Dad. It was easier that way. Sometimes I still dreamed about him. In those dreams, he was always just around the corner. I could hear him, but I couldn't reach him. Last week, something strange happened. I was at work, lunch break, sitting in my car. My phone buzzed. One new voicemail. No missed call, no number dot, just the message. I played it. It was only a few seconds long at first. I just heard static, then a voice, a man's voice, shaky, tired, scared. He said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't leave. I tried." Then the message ended. I sat there, frozen my lunch, sat on my lap, untouched, because I knew that voice. It was my dad, not someone who sounded like him. Not a trick, it was him. Exactly the way I remembered. I played it again and again. Same words, same tone. Every time I heard it, my hands shook more. My dad had been gone since 1996. That was 28. Years ago, I called the number back. Nothing, no ringing. Just a voice that said, "This number is no longer in service." I tried to check the call details, but there were none. It was like the voicemail came from nowhere. I went home early from work. I dug through the storage closet in my apartment, found an old box marked Dad's stuff. Inside were cassette tapes, home videos. One of them had a label, Christmas '94. Dad reading. I found a tape player and popped it in. There he was. My dad, reading a story to me, laughing when I asked silly questions. The same voice, same soft tone, same calm rhythm. It matched the voicemail exactly. I sat there, on the floor, shaking. Something was wrong. Either my dad was alive, or something was using his voice. I played the voicemail one more time before bed. "I'm sorry, I couldn't leave. I tried." What did that mean? Where was he? What did he try to leave? I didn't sleep that night. I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, because I kept thinking, what if he never left at all? What if he's still here, somewhere? And what if something's keeping him from coming back? I listened to the voicemail at least 20 times that night. Each time, it felt worse. The voice sounded just like my dad, but older, slower, like he was trying not to cry. "I'm sorry, I couldn't leave. I tried." That's all he said. 5 seconds. That's it. but I couldn't stop playing it. I opened my phone to check the call. There was no number, no contact name, no location. I clicked on details. Nothing there. No timestamp, no call length, no file size. It was like the voicemail came from nowhere. I tried calling back again. The screen went black for a second. Then a message popped up. This number is not in service. I hung up fast. My hand was shaking. Something was wrong. Really wrong. I went back to the old box of my dad's stuff. Inside were more tapes, a few old journals, and a dusty folder with the words "Missing 1996" written in thick black marker. I opened the folder. It had newspaper clippings, police notes, and a faded photo of my dad. He was standing outside the cabin we used to visit when I was little. He looked happy, but now that I stared at the photo, his smile didn't feel right. Looked. Forced, I set the picture aside and picked up one of the cassette tapes. It was labeled Dad, April 1995. I popped it into the old tape player I'd found earlier. The tape crackled at first. Then I heard his voice. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's try this again. He laughed. That laugh, it was burned into my brain. Warm, familiar. The same voice from the voicemail. The same rhythm. Same way he said the word sorry. It was a perfect match. I stopped the tape. My heart was beating hard. It was real. I wasn't imagining it. Whoever left that voicemail, it was my dad. But how? He'd been gone for almost 30 years. And the voicemail wasn't old. It was new. Brand-new. I stayed up the whole night, going through everything. The old journals had his handwriting. One entry caught my eye. It said, "Something in the static. It's watching. I hear it at night." Another page said, "Don't trust the silence. It's not really quiet." I didn't know what that meant. Was he hearing voices, losing his mind, or was something actually there? I checked online databases for missing persons. His file was still active, still no trace. No sightings, no updates. Just one note, added in 2002. Presumed deceased, case cold. That hit me hard. They gave up, but now he was reaching out again. From where? I played the voicemail one last time before the sun came up. "I'm sorry. I couldn't leave. I tried." This time, I noticed something small. A sound under his voice, soft, almost like a low whisper. I turned the volume all the way up, and I swear someone else was speaking behind him. A second voice, very faint. I couldn't tell what it said, but it didn't sound human. That's when I knew my dad didn't leave us. He didn't run away. Something took him. And whatever it was, it might be trying to do the same thing to me. I spent the whole weekend going through my dad's old stuff, papers, journals, photos. I wanted to find anything that could explain the voicemail. That's when I found the picture. It was from a camping trip. I must have been 6 years old. Me, sitting on a log, holding a marshmallow on a stick. Behind me was a small wooden cabin. I hadn't seen that place in years. I barely even remembered it. But when I looked at the photo, something clicked in my brain that it felt important. That night, I called my mum. "Do you remember the old cabin Dad used to take us to?" I asked. She was quiet for a second. "Why are you asking about that place?" She said. "I just found a photo." She sighed. That cabin was way out in the woods. He liked going there alone sometimes. "Where is it?" I asked. "I don't know. He never told me." Somewhere off Route 9, I think. Why? I'm just trying to figure something out. I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about the photos. So the next morning, I got in my car and drove. I didn't have an address, just a direction and a memory. For hours, I drove down old roads, past dead trees and empty fields. Finally, I saw it, a narrow dirt path, almost hidden behind thick trees. Something told me to turn, so I did. The path went deep into the woods. No signs, no houses, just trees and silence. Then I saw it, the cabin, still standing. It looked just like the picture. Small wooden, dark windows. The door was closed, but not locked. I stepped up onto the porch. The wood creaked under my feet. I reached for the handle and pushed the door open. It groaned inside. It smelled like dust and old wood. The air was heavy. I looked around. There was a table, 2 chairs, an old stove, top papers on the floor, a mug still sitting on the counter. It looked like someone left in a rush, like they thought they'd be back, but never came back. I walked into the main room. There was a small bed in the corner, blankets, piled up, a flashlight on the nightstand, long dead. Then I noticed something strange. The dust, it was thick on everything. The table, the floor, the shelves. But in one spot, near the back door, there were footprints, fresh ones, leading in a straight line to the attic stairs. My heart dropped. I didn't make those prints, and no one had been here for years, at least. That's what I thought. I stared at the steps. The air felt wrong, like I wasn't alone. I slowly backed away. I didn't go upstairs, not yet. Instead, I went outside and walked around the back. That's when I saw the window above, slightly open. A curtain inside moved, just a little. But there was no wind. I stood there, frozen. Then I heard something from inside. A soft thump from the attic, like something had dropped or moved. I turned and walked straight to my car, got in, locked the doors. I didn't start the engine right away. I just sat there, watching the cabin, waiting. Nothing happened, but I knew what I saw, and I knew what I heard. Someone or something had been in that cabin, and it might still be there. I couldn't stop thinking about the cabin, even after I left. My mind kept going back to the footprints in the dust, the curtain that moved, the thump from the attic. So the next day, I went back. This time, I brought a flashlight, a pocket knife, and a phone that I made sure was fully charged. The cabin was the same, quiet, still. I stepped inside and walked to the attic stairs. The wood creaked as I climbed. I moved slow, listening for sounds, but everything was quiet. At the top was a small door. I opened it. The attic was dark. Dust floated in the flashlight beam. There were boxes, some old furniture, and in the far corner, something that didn't fit. A reel-to-reel tape recorder. It looked old, very old, covered in dust, but the plug was still in the wall. I walked over and brushed the dust off. There was already a tape inside, a white label on it. All it said was, "Don't listen." I stared at those 2 words for a long time. I should have left, but I didn't. My fingers moved on their own. I clicked the play button. The wheels spun. The tape clicked and hissed. Then a voice started to speak. "Hey, man, calm, careful." It was my dad. He said, "If you're hearing this, I'm sorry. I tried to stop it. I really did. I think it lives in the woods. It hides during the day, but at night it gets louder. Then he paused. The tape crackled. He kept going. It doesn't have a real voice. It takes them. It steals them. That's how it talks. Voices from people I knew. Voices of my friends. My son, my wife. Another pause. Then he whispered, almost too quiet to hear. It used my own voice once. I took a step back. My hand was shaking. The tape kept playing. He sounded more nervous now, breathing faster. I tried to bury the recorder. I burned the first tapes. It didn't help. It just came back louder. I haven't spoken out loud in days. I don't want it to use me again. Then the voice cracked. He said, "If you hear my voice again, don't believe it. I might still be out here. I might be trapped. But if it speaks in my voice, don't answer. Don't let it in. And whatever you do," the tape made a strange noise, like static but deeper, almost like growling. Then my dad's voice came back, yelling, "Turn it off. Turn it off." I hit stop. The machine clicked. The attic went quiet again. I stood there in the dark, frozen. That tape was real. That was his voice. And he knew something was out there. Something that steals voices. If the thing could copy his voice, ... What if the voicemail wasn't really him? What if I was never supposed to hear it? I looked down at the tape. The label still said, "Don't listen." But it was too late. I stayed at the cabin that night. I shouldn't have, but I didn't want to drive home. In the dark, I locked the doors and windows. I even blocked the back door with a chair. Still, something felt wrong. The tape recorder was in the attic, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I laid on the old bed downstairs, eyes open, lights off, phone beside me. Then I heard it footsteps outside. They were slow, crunching leaves. Getting closer, step, 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 ... Then nothing. I sat up, held my breath. My heart pounded. I waited. Then 3 knocks on the front door. Knock, knock, knock. I didn't move. Another knock, then a voice, soft, broken. "It's me, it's Dad. Let me in." I stared at the door. I didn't say anything. The voice came again. "Come on, kiddo. It's cold out here. Let me in." It sounded just like him, but I remembered the tape. "If you hear my voice again, don't believe it." I backed away from the door. The voice got quieter. "It's really me. I missed you." Then silence. I waited. No more footsteps. No more knocking. Then a new voice. My mum's voice. "Sweetheart, open the door." It was gentle, loving, but I knew she was back home, hours away. She couldn't be here. I didn't say a word. Then I heard my own voice. From outside, "It's okay. You can open it now." I felt sick. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. I aimed it at the door. It stayed still, but the voices kept going. "Why won't you help me? I'm your father. Don't you love me?" They spoke over each other. Different tones, different words. Some sounded scared, others angry. Then, all at once, they stopped. I stood in silence for a long time. Then the voice from the voicemail played again. Exactly the same tone, same speed. "I'm sorry, I couldn't leave." I tried, then silence. I stepped forward, put my ear to the door. Nothing, no breathing, no sound. I looked through the peephole. Nobody there. I unlocked the door, just for a second, opened it slowly. The porch was empty. No footprints, no figure, nothing. I shut the door and locked it again. My hands were shaking. I sat down on the floor, back against the wall. The recorder upstairs was still, but I felt like something was still listening, waiting. I stayed awake until the sun came up. Didn't sleep, didn't speak. And when I left that cabin the next morning, I knew I hadn't been alone that night. Something had come back, and it wore my father's voice. I left the cabin at sunrise. I didn't look back. I drove home with my hands tight on the wheel and my phone in my lap. The tape recorder's warning kept playing in my head. If you hear my voice again, don't believe it. That night, I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I heard static. It wasn't loud, but it was there, in the TV, in the ceiling fan, even in the walls. Just a faint buzzing, like something waiting to speak. I unplugged the TV. The sound didn't stop. I finally fell asleep around 4 a.m., but the dreams were worse. I saw my dad standing in my childhood kitchen. He smiled at me, but something was wrong with his face. His eyes didn't move. His mouth stayed frozen, like his face was stuck in one shape. Then his mouth opened and he spoke. Only his mouth moved. Everything else stayed stiff. He whispered, I couldn't leave. Then again, I couldn't leave. Again and again, the same words, until his voice turned into static. I woke up, choking. I sat straight up in bed. The room was dark. My bed sheets were damp with sweat. I looked over at the TV. It was still unplugged, but I could hear it buzzing, hissing, like it was trying to turn itself back on. I grabbed my phone. There was a new notification. One new voicemail. No missed call, no missed call, no number, just like before. My hands felt cold as I tapped to play it. At first, nothing. Just breathing, just slow, shaky, too close to the microphone. Then I heard tapping, like fingers on wood. Or maybe fingernails. Tap. Tap, tap. No voice, no words. Just the sound of someone or something waiting. I held the phone away from my ear. I didn't want to hear more, but the message stopped on its own. I checked the TIMES.0:33 seconds do option to save it. No number to trace. It disappeared right after I played it. I didn't sleep again that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. Not my real dad, the other one, the fake one. The one wearing his smile like a mask. The static is in everything. Now, in my phone, in my dreams, in the quiet moments between thoughts. And no matter what I do, it keeps whispering the same words. I couldn't leave. I couldn't stop thinking about the tape, the one from the attic. My dad's voice, his warning, the way it ended. I needed to know more, so I brought the reel-to-reel recorder home and transferred the tape to my laptop. It took hours, but I finally got it digitized. Once it was on my computer, I loaded it into audio software. I wanted to clean up the static, maybe hear more clearly what he said. I listened to the whole thing again, same as before. If you hear my voice again, don't believe it. Then the yelling at the end. Turn it off, turn it off. But this time, I slowed the audio down. Then I reversed it. Then I separated the layers of sound. That's when things got weird. There were other voices hidden in the background. I'm not joking, they were buried under the static. Some were just crying, others were whispering words I couldn't understand. One said, very clearly, "Help me, please." It didn't sound like my dad. It sounded like a child. I felt sick, but I kept going. I boosted the volume on the faintest sounds. More voices came through. So many layers. Some repeated the same thing again and again. Don't listen, don't listen, don't listen, another voice said. He's still in there. I paused the track and stared at the screen. How could these voices be on my dad's old tape? Had he recorded them? Picked up some weird signal? Or were they always there? I pressed play again, and then I heard something that stopped my heart. A voice, my voice. It was quiet, but clear, buried deep under everything else. It said I couldn't leave. I tried, the exact same words from the voicemail in my voice. But I never said that. I never recorded it. I checked the waveform. It matched my voice perfectly. Same tone, same rhythm, like someone had copied it, or like I had already said it. In the future, I sat back in my chair. My mouth was dry. I felt cold all over. What if this wasn't just my dad's voice being copied? What if it was already copying me too? I stared at the screen for a long time. The track kept looping. All the voices, all the static, and underneath it, all me, begging, repeating, trapped in the background, like I'd already been pulled in. Like, the tape wasn't just playing me, it was recording me. I told myself I wouldn't go back to the cabin, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. The tape, the static, the voice that sounded like mine. It felt like something wasn't finished, like I'd left something behind, so I went back. This time, I didn't bring much. Just a flashlight, my phone, and a small shovel I found in the garage. I don't know why I brought the shovel. I just felt like I'd need it. The cabin looked the same. Still, quiet, dark, but something felt different. The moment I stepped out of the car, I heard it. A low sound, like humming mixed with static. It was coming from the woods behind the cabin. It sounded just like the background noise on the voicemail. And the tape, I followed it at first. It was hard to hear, but the deeper I walked into the trees, the louder it got. Then I heard voices, real voices, but not loud or clear. They were layered over each other, whispers and cries, all mixed together. Some sounded like people I knew, some sounded like people I'd never met. Then I heard him, my dad. Just for a second, he said, "It's not safe here." I froze. "Dad," I said out loud, "where are you?" The sound didn't answer, but it moved. I followed it. I walked until I reached a clearing. In the middle of it was a large, dead tree. The sound was louder here, sharper. It was buzzing up from the ground, right under the tree. I dropped the flashlight, grabbed the shovel, and started digging. The dirt was soft, like someone had already dug there before. After just a few minutes, I hit something hard. Metal. I cleared the dirt and pulled it out. It was an old shortwave radio, dusty, rusted, but somehow it turned on. It made a horrible sound, like 10 voices, talking all at once, crying, laughing, screaming. Then my dad's voice came through, clear, calm, sad. He said, "It's not me. You have to forget me. That's the only way it lets go." Then nothing. The radio turned off. Just like that, I stared at it, waiting for it to speak again. But it did, no static. No static, no whispers. Just silence. I picked it up, held it in my hands. It was cold and heavy, and I knew right then whatever had taken him, whatever had been copying his voice, it didn't want me to find him. It wanted me to remember, to keep listening, because that's how it stayed alive. But he told me not to. Forget him, that's what he said. I put the radio back in the hole and covered it with dirt. Then I turned and walked away. I didn't run. I didn't look back. And for the first time in days, I didn't hear any voices, not even his. When I got back home, the first thing I did was check my phone. No new voicemails. No old voicemails either. In fact, everything was gone. The voicemail from my dad, gone. The one with just breathing, gone. Even the call log was blank. No history. No numbers. Nothing. It looked like I'd never received a single call. I checked my backups. My cloud storage, still nothing. It was like it had all been erased, or like it was never there at all. I tried to tell my friend Alex about everything. I said, "Do you remember when my dad went missing?" He blinked at me. "What do you mean, you know my dad?" "From when I was a kid, 1996. He shook his head. "I thought your dad left you guys. Moved away, right?" "No," I said. "He disappeared. They never found him." Alex just looked at me funny. "I swear you told me he ran off with someone." "That's what you said back in high school." I didn't say anything. My chest felt tight. Later, I called my cousin Lena. She was older than me. She remembered more. "Hey," I asked, "do you still have those old family pictures from when my dad was around?" She paused. "I don't think we have any with him in them. He was never in group photos, was he?" "Yes, he was," I said. "I remember Christmas, camping. He was in a bunch of them." "I really don't think so," she said. "I went through my own photo albums, page after page, but something was wrong. In every photo where I knew my dad had been, he was missing. Just not there, a space on the couch, a hand on my shoulder with no body, a shadow that didn't match anyone else." Then I found something worse. A photo of me and him, just the two of us taken outside the cabin. Except now, my face was blurry. Not just out of focus. Blurred like someone had smudged it on purpose. My whole body was there, but my face, gone. I felt sick. I flipped to another photo of me at my 10th birthday. Same thing. My face was faded. Like it was slowly disappearing. Like I was being erased. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like the more I looked, the less real I became. Even my own memories started feeling foggy, like they belonged to someone else. I went to the mirror that night, stared at my reflection. Everything looked normal, but I kept thinking, what if I'm next? What if this is how it starts? First the phone goes blank, then the photos change, then people forget you were ever here. Just like what happened to my dad. And what if the only thing left behind is your voice? If you're hearing this, it means it's already started. I don't know how long this recording will last. My voice sits not coming through the way it should. Sometimes it skips. Sometimes it sounds like someone else. But I need you to listen. Just once, and then forget it. Delete this. Turn off your phone. Walk away, because this is how it begins. It started with a voicemail, then dreams, then the voices. At first, they all sounded like people I missed, my dad, my mom, myself, but they weren't real. I don't think I exist the same way I used to. I look in the mirror, and sometimes I don't see my face. I hear things even when everything's off, and people I've known my whole life, they're starting to forget me, like I was never here. If this reaches UF, my voice is still clear, Please listen to me. Do not try to find me. Do not go to the cabin. Do not replay this message. Do not follow the sound if it calls to you, because that's what it wants. That's how it spreads. It doesn't come all at once. It sneaks in through speakers, through dreams, through the static between radio stations. It uses your voice. It copies people you love, and it waits for you to answer. I think that's what happened to my dad. He answered Dot, and now I think I'm where he was. I can't leave either. I've tried. I don't know what this thing is, but I know it. Remembers sounds. That's how it lives. That's how it keeps us. You might hear another message after this. It might sound like me. It might say I'm okay, that I came back, that I need help. Don't believe it. That's not me. It's just using my voice. I'm tired. I don't know how much longer I'll stay me. Sometimes I hear myself speaking when my mouth is closed. Sometimes I wake up and my own voice is still playing from my phone. This is my last message. If it reaches anyone, just one person, I've done what I could. I've warned you, so please, don't. Listen again. Don't speak to the voice. Don't try to help. That's how it took him. That's how it takes all of us. Low static voice flickers, glitching slightly. I'm sorry. I couldn't lave. I tear-eyed silence. The cabin had no doors, no windows, but something was inside. The structure looked sealed from all sides. No way in, no way out, but something inside moved and watched. I hadn't been back to my hometown in years, not since. I moved away after college, but a few weeks ago, I got a message from my cousin Rachel. Just one line, another one's gone missing, same trail. I knew what she meant right away. I drove in that weekend. The place looked the same, quiet, empty, small town stuff. Rachel met me at the gas station near the edge of town. It was a hiker, she said, young guy, early 20s. He was camping with a group, but he wandered off. When I asked, she hesitated. Old logging road, off Mason Ridge. I felt cold when she said it. That place has a history. Most people just don't talk about it anymore. When I was 9, a man named Donnie Kirk disappeared on that same trail. He lived just a few houses down from us. Nice guy, worked at the mill. One day he went hiking alone, never came back. They found his car, his bag, even his walking stick, but not him. I remember the search teams combing the woods for days. My dad took me out there once, just to watch. Dogs barking, people shouting, yellow tape tied to trees. No signs of struggle, no blood, no prints, just ... Gone. After 2 weeks, they gave up. Said he probably fell or got lost. But my dad said something different. He told me they won't find him. That place isn't right. I asked what he meant. He looked at me and said, "There's something up there, a structure. We found it once, back in high school. You don't forget it." "What kind of structure?" I asked. "No windows, no doors," he said. "Just walls, like it was dropped there." I laughed. I thought he was messing with me, but he didn't laugh back. He just stared at the road. I never forgot that. And now another person was missing. Same place, same story. Rachel gave me a paper from the local news. Hiker missing near logging trail. It had a photo of the guy. His name was Eli Grunt. Blonde hair, hiking boots, big smile. He didn't look like the kind of person to just vanish. But that's what everyone said about Donnie, too. I talked to one of the search guys, Rachel said. He said there was something weird out there, big and square, but they couldn't get close. Why not? I asked. They said the GPS stopped working, radios cut out. One guy passed out cold. She looked at me. He's still in the hospital, won't talk. I didn't know what to say. I thought that part of my life was over. Just an old, creepy memory. But now it was back, and I had a feeling I wouldn't be able to leave it alone that night. I stayed at my aunt's house. Didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about that weird story my dad told me. The thing in the woods, no windows, no doors, but something was inside. And I knew, deep down, if I went out there, I might not come back either. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I wanted answers. Maybe I just needed to see it for myself the next morning. I packed a flashlight, a bottle of water, and a pocket knife. I didn't tell Rachel where I was going. I just left a note that said, "Out for a hike, Mason Ridge." The drive out there was quiet. One long road cutting through trees. When I reached the trailhead, I parked the car and stood there for a minute. The woods looked normal at first, but the deeper I walked, the stranger it felt. The path was narrow, but clear. Pine needles covered the ground. About a mile in, I noticed something odd. No birds, no bugs, no animal sounds at all. Just my own footsteps. Even the air felt felt heavy, like it didn't want me there. After a while, I saw a set of old boot prints in the dirt. Not mine. Too big, too deep. They were headed in the same direction. I followed them. The farther I went, the worse it got. The trees were too close together. Some of them had grown sideways, like they were leaning away from something. At one point, I saw a rabbit cross the trail ahead of me. It froze, looked at me, then turned around and ran back the way it came. Not forward, back. My flashlight flickered once, even though it was still daytime. The woods felt darker now, like something was blocking the sun. Even though there were no clouds, I kept going. About 2 hours in, I reached an old wooden marker nailed to a tree. Faded letters carved into it. Logging Zone 3 below that. Scratched into the wood by hand. Turned back. I stopped walking. Looked around. Everything was still. Too still. Part of me wanted to listen. Turn back. Go home. Forget all of it. But I didn't. I kept going. The path narrowed even more. Soon I was ducking under low branches, pushing through thorny bushes. It didn't feel like a trail anymore, more like something was forcing me to squeeze through it. At one point, I tripped on a root and fell hard. My knee hit a rock. It bled a little. I wiped it off and stood up. That's when I heard it. A sound behind me, a soft crunch, like a footstep. I spun around. No one there, but I felt it like eyes on the back of my neck. I held still and waited. Nothing. I kept walking, but I didn't feel alone anymore. Every few minutes, I'd hear a sound behind me. A branch snapping, leaves rustling, and every time I stopped to listen it, stopped to like it was waiting. Finally, I reached a clearing. No birds, no bugs, no sound at all. And there it was, just standing there, at the far edge of the clearing. A perfect square cabin. Black, wood, no windows, no door dot, no seams, no way in. Just 4 walls. Standing in the middle of nowhere, I stared at it. It stared back, not with eyes, but with something else. Something I couldn't see, but I felt it deep in my chest, like it was pulling something out of me, like it knew I was there. Should have turned around. I should have left, but I didn't move. I just stood there, watching it, and waiting to see if it would move first. I don't know how long I stood in that clearing. The cabin didn't move. It just sat there, still dead. Quiet. It didn't look right. It was a perfect square, too perfect, like it wasn't made by hand. The wood was dark, almost black, but not painted. It looked smooth, like glass, but dry like bark. No grain, no cracks, just flat, silent walls. I walked closer, slow and careful. Every step felt heavier. I kept looking for a door, a handle, a window, something. But there was nothing. Each side was exactly the same, just tall, blank walls. No lines where the boards should meet. No hinges, no way in. I said out loud, "What is this?" It didn't answer. Of course it didn't. But then, I heard something. It was faint, like a breath. Not mine. I stopped moving and listened. There it was again. Inhale, exhale. Like someone was just inside the wall. I stepped closer and pressed my ear against it. The wall was cold. Not like regular cold, strong cold. It made my skin tingle. Then I heard a sound. A whisper, it said. Real soft. Help. I jumped back. Hello, I said. No answer. Who's in there? Nothing. I walked along the wall, running my hand across it, smooth all the way. I knocked. It sounded solid. Too solid. Like it was much thicker than it looked. But then, knock, 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 something knocked back. I froze. I wasn't sure what to do. It was one knock, then a pause, then another, like someone trying to answer me. I put my ear back to the wall. That this time, the voice was louder. Please, it's dark. It sounded like a woman, young, scared, but off. Like the words were right, but the way she said them was just a little wrong. Too flat, too slow. Who are you? I asked. She didn't answer. Are you hurt? Still nothing? Then she whispered again. I can see you. I backed up. I looked around the clearing. No one, just trees and the black box in front of me. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to run, but something kept me there. I walked around the cabin again, slower this time. Still no openings, no cracks. I touched every inch of it that I could reach. It didn't make sense. How could someone be inside? Then I stopped, because I heard scratching on the inside of the wall, soft at first, then louder, like fingernails on wood, coming from all sides, not just one spot, all around me, like there were more than one. I backed away, heart racing. My hands were shaking. I said, I'm going to get help. Then I turned and walked fast, toward the tree line. As I moved, I heard one more whisper. It wasn't scared this time. It was smiling. It said, you already did. I didn't look back. I didn't run, but I felt the sound in my spine, like it had gotten inside me somehow. That box had no doors, no windows, no way in or out, but something was inside, and I don't think it ever wanted to leave. I stayed near the edge of the clearing for a while, just staring at the thing. It still didn't make sense. No windows, no doors. Just a big black box sitting in the middle of the woods. But I couldn't leave. I felt like it wanted me closer. I took a deep breath and walked toward it. I started circling the cabin. I walked slow, one side at a time. I ran my hand along the wall. It was cold, not like regular cold. It felt dead, no cracks, no seams. Just smooth, solid wood. Then I heard something. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. It came from inside. 3 short knocks. I waited. Then it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. Same rhythm, same spot. I stepped closer and pressed my ear to the wall at first. Nothing then. Dash, breathing, slow, close. It was right on the other side. I whispered, hello. No answer. I said it louder. Is someone in there? Then I heard a voice, very quiet, like someone trying not to cry. It said, help me. I jumped back. My heart was racing. I looked around the clearing, but no one else was there. Just me, and the voice behind the wall. I stepped closer again. Who are you? I asked. Silence. I pressed my ear back to the wall. The breathing was still. There, then softer, this time, please. I'm stuck. It didn't sound angry, just scared. But something felt wrong. The voice was flat, like it was missing the feeling part. Almost like a robot trying to sound sad. I'll get help, I said. I'll come back. I turned to leave. Then I heard another knock. But this time, it wasn't behind me. It was on the wall to my right. Knock, 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 knock. Then on the left, knock, knock. I turned in a circle. The knocking was coming from every side. Fast, slow, random. All around me. I backed away until I was at the edge of the clearing. Then the knocking stopped. Silence. I stood there, breathing hard. I didn't understand what I'd just heard. I looked at the wall one last time. That's when the voice came again. Not scared this time, not quiet. It sounded calm, like it already knew something I didn't. It whispered, "You're already inside." I felt dizzy, like the ground moved under me. I turned and ran. I didn't stop until I reached the tree line. Even then, I didn't look back. The air felt different now, like the forest had closed in behind me, like the clearing and that box didn't want to let me go. But I did leave. Somehow, I walked back, through the trees, back to my car. I sat there with the engine off, hands shaking. I should have left town right then, but I didn't, single quotes, because now I had questions, and somehow that thing had my voice. I should have left. I really should have just walked away, but I couldn't stop thinking about the cabin. That voice, the knocking, the way it whispered, "You're already inside." I didn't understand any of it, so I made the dumbest decision of my life. I set up camp. I found a small spot between some trees, not far from the clearing. I unrolled my sleeping bag, built a small fire, and tried to calm down. I kept telling myself I wasn't scared, that I was just curious. But I was lying. I was terrified. I didn't hear anything for the first hour, just the fire crackling and the sounds of trees creaking above me, but I couldn't relax. I kept glancing toward the trees, thinking I'd see something step out. Don't not yet. Around midnight, I laid down. I left the fire burning low and pulled the sleeping bag up to my chin. That's when the dream started at first. I was just standing in the clearing again. The cabin was in front of me, but this time, it was different. It had eyes too big, round eyes near the top of the front wall. They weren't painted or carved, they were real human eyes, and they were looking at me. Then the walls started moving. Scratching sounds came from inside, fast, sharp, desperate, like fingernails on wood. Then I saw Hanstin, pale hands pushing from behind the walls like they were made of rubber, trying to get out. I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring, as the walls breathed in and out like lungs. Then I heard it, a voice right behind me. "You shouldn't have stayed." I woke up gasping. The fire was almost out. I sat up fast, heart pounding, sweat on my neck. I looked around. Everything was still. No movement, no sounds. But then I heard it, very faint. Someone whispering my name. Hey, it was soft, too soft, like someone standing just behind the trees. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it around. Nothing. Then again, closer. "Hey, I see you." It was my voice, but I didn't say anything. I stood up, backing away from the fire. I aimed the light at the trees. Still nothing. Then I heard footsteps, fast, like someone running through dry leaves. I turned the flashlight in that direction and shouted, "Who's there?" No answer, just silence. I packed up my things in seconds. Didn't even roll up the sleeping bag, just stuffed it in my bag and took off. I didn't care if it was pitch dark. I couldn't stay there. I moved fast, watching the trail as best I could, but it felt like the woods had changed, like the path kept shifting under my feet at one point. I turned around. I don't know why. I just felt like I had to, and way back. Between the trees saw two small lights. At first, I thought they were fireflies, but they weren't blinking, and they were too far apart. They looked like eyes, just hovering, watching then. they were gone. I didn't stop moving, didn't sleep again, just walked until I saw the break in the trees and the shape of my car in the dark. When I got inside and locked the doors, I finally let out a breath, but even then, I could still hear it, my own voice, somewhere deep in the woods saying one word: stay. I didn't sleep after that night in the woods. I waited in my car with the doors locked until the sky started to lighten. Even then, I didn't feel safe, but I had to go back. I had to see if it was still there. When I reached the clearing, the cabin was waiting, same as before. Black walls, no windows, no seams, but something was different. I could tell right away. There was a door. I stopped walking. My eyes locked on it. It was right there in the middle of the front wall. A perfect rectangle, just an open black space. No hinges, no handle, just there, wide open like it had always been there. But I knew it hadn't. I'd checked every inch of that wall. This door was new. I stood a few feet away. Staring inside, it was too dark. I couldn't see anything beyond the doorway. Just black, like the inside of a cave, or worse, I should have left. But I didn't. I stepped closer. I leaned forward and looked inside. No sound, no air, no light, but the space inside felt wrong. It didn't match the outside. From the outside, the cabin was maybe 10 feet wide, but inside it looked bigger, much bigger. I reached out and touched the doorway. The edge was cold, too smooth. I held my breath and stepped in. At first it felt like I walked into nothing. No floor, no walls, no air dot, just darkness pressing in all around me. I pulled out my flashlight and turned it on. The beam lit up the floor. Beneath me wood, same black wood as the outside, but the walls were far away. I walked forward slowly, shining the light. Left and right. The space stretched out in all directions, way bigger than it should have been. Then I turned around. The doorway was gone. Behind me was just a blank wall, no opening. I walked back and touched it, solid. I was trapped. I started breathing. Fast. I hit the wall with my fist. No sound came out. I shouted, "Hello, let me out." My voice sounded small, too small, like the room swallowed it. I turned and kept walking deeper inside. My flashlight flickered once. I hit it, and the beam steadied. Then I saw something on the floor, scratches, deep ones, like something had clawed at the boards. Some marks were in circles, others went in long, straight lines, and some spelled letters, just one word, over and over. STAY. My hands were shaking now. I turned the light upward and saw something move in the distance. I stopped. "Who's there?" I said. No answer, just a shape, barely visible in the dark, like a shadow trying to be a person. I took one slow step forward, then the shape vanished, just gone, but I felt it, still near me, watching. I turned and ran, didn't care where. I just wanted out. But the room twisted around me. Every time I turned a corner, it looked the same. Same walls, same floor, same scratch marks. Like I was walking in circles. Then, I saw the doorway again, right in front of me, just like before. Open, I didn't think. I ran through it and found myself back outside. The sky was grey. The clearing was still. The cabin stood behind me. The door was gone again, like it had never been there. I stood in the grass, breathing hard, my flashlight still on, and I realized something. That thing let me in. It showed me what was inside, and now it knew me. I told myself I wasn't going back in, but the next morning, I was standing at the edge of the clearing again. The cabin hadn't moved, still sitting there, like it had always been. But this time, the door was already open, just a big black rectangle cut into the front wall, like it was waiting for me. I don't know why I walked in, I just did. The moment I stepped through, everything changed. The air inside was thick, heavy, like I was walking underwater. My flashlight barely worked. The beam looked weak, like it couldn't cut through the dark. I pointed it at the floor. Black wood again, wet in places, soft in others. When I stepped, it made a squishy sound, like I was walking on something alive. The walls weren't right either. They pulsed, not fast, but slow and steady. In and out, almost like breathing. I stopped moving, just listened. Somewhere, far off, I heard whispering. I thought it was coming from deeper inside, so I followed it. The hall didn't feel straight. It curved slightly, like a spiral, but every time I turned a corner, it looked the same dot, same walls, same floor, same wet spots, and the same whispering. I kept walking, shining the light ahead of me. Then I heard something that made me stop. It said, I shouldn't have come in here. In my voice, my exact voice, like it had been recorded and played back. I turned fast, but no one was there. Then I heard it again. I don't want to stay here. Again my voice, same tone, same way I said it last night in my car. The cabin was repeating me. I backed up and bumped into something. I turned the flashlight to my left. There was a wall, but this wall was different. It had drawings on it, childlike sketches, done in black chalk, done hundreds of them. I stepped closer. The figures were simple, stick people, but I recognized one right away. Short hair, backpack, flashlight in one hand. It was me. I stared at it. Someone had drawn me on this wall. Then I saw another. One me again, standing in the clearing dot, and another me looking into the doorway. Some drawings were small, some large dots. Each one showed me in a different place around the cabin. One showed me lying down inside it, like I was asleep. Another one showed me screaming. Another showed me standing in front of the cabin with no face. I crouched and looked at the bottom corner of the wall. There was a date written under one of the pictures, 1986. That couldn't be right. I wasn't born until 1991. I backed away slowly. I whispered, "Who did this?" And the cabin whispered back, "You did." I turned and ran. The hall seemed longer now, like it was stretching while I moved. The whispers followed me, all in my voice. "Why'd you come here? You should have stayed outside. It's not done with you yet." When I finally found the exit, the door was gone again. Just another blank wall. I hit it hard with both fists. Nothing. I turned around, ready to scream, and saw a new drawing on the opposite wall. It showed me, right there. Hands on the wall, mouth wide open, stuck. I dropped my flashlight. The light spun on the floor and went out. And in the dark, I heard the cabin, breathing again, slow, deep, waiting. I kept walking. I didn't know how long I had been inside. The hallways felt endless now. Every corner looked the same. Same dark walls, same soft floor, same whispering voices, most of the time. I couldn't tell if I was walking in circles. But then something changed. I turned a corner and saw a doorway, a real one. Light was coming from inside. I stepped in slowly. The room was small. No windows. No furniture. Just one thing in the center. A tall mirror. I stopped, a few feet away, and stared at it. It was the only thing that looked clean in the whole cabin. No dust, no scratches. Just a tall, perfect mirror. At first, I didn't see anything. Strange, just my reflection. But then I looked closer, and I realized that wasn't me. The person in the mirror looked like me. Sure, same face, same clothes, but something was wrong. They were thinner, pale, like they hadn't eaten in days. Their eyes were wide and dark, like they hadn't slept in weeks, and they were smiling. I took a step back. The reflection stayed still. Then it moved. It stepped forward when I didn't. It leaned closer to the glass. Then its mouth opened, and in my voice it said, "Let me out." I didn't move. I just stared. It pressed its hands against the glass and said again, louder, "Let me out. I don't want to be here anymore." My throat felt dry. My hands were shaking. I whispered, "Who are you?" The reflection blinked, tilted its head, and whispered back, "I'm you." I shook my head. "No, you're not." It smiled wider. "I used to be." Then something moved behind it. I stepped closer and looked past the glass. There were faces in the mirror, not just one, dozens, pressed up behind the glass, shoulder to shoulder, filling the dark space behind my reflection. Men, women, some young, some old. All of them looked scared, pale, empty. They didn't speak, but they all mouthed the same word, "Stay," over and over again. "Stay, stay, stay." I stepped back fast. The mirror didn't show me anymore. Not the real me, only that pale version. It kept following my movements, like it was stuck behind the glass, trying to keep up. Its hands pounded on the mirror. "Let me out. I can't breathe in here." I looked behind me. No door, no hall. Just 4 black walls. The room had closed up again. I turned back toward the mirror. Now the faces were louder. I couldn't hear them with my ears, but I heard them in my head, all whispering, "Stay, stay, stay," over and over, like a chant, like a command. The mirror started to crack at the corners, just a little, like something was pushing hard from the other side. My reflection, that thing, looked desperate now. Its mouth was wide, too wide. Its fingers scraped the inside of the glass. Red lines ran down its face, like it was bleeding from its eyes. It screamed, "Let me out, here, already in." I covered my ears. I backed into the wall. Then I blinked hand. The room was empty again. The mirror was still there, but the cracks were gone. No reflection, no faces, just smooth black glass. I stood there, shaking. Then I whispered one thing. "I don't want to stay." And somewhere far away, I heard my own voice whisper back, "It's too late." I don't remember how I got out of the mirror room. Maybe I didn't. The halls looked different now. Everything was darker. The walls felt closer. The floor moved a little when I stepped, like it was breathing. I walked and walked, but I didn't know where I was going. My flashlight was dead. I used my hands to feel the walls. They were wet and warm. They pulsed under my fingers, like they were alive. Then I heard it. My own voice, but not in front of me. Not behind me, from inside the walls. It whispered, "You should have stayed home." Then another voice, so mine said, "You were never home." I stopped walking. My head felt heavy. My thoughts weren't right. I tried to remember the car ride. I tried to remember Rachel, my cousin. Did I actually see her? Did she really send me a message? Had I ever really left this place? I pressed my forehead to the wall. It felt warm, like skin. Then it whispered again, real soft. "You were always here." "No," I whispered back. "That's not true." I walked in. I came from the clearing. I found the door. "What door?" my voice asked from inside the wall. I turned around. The hallway behind me was gone. Now it was just a small room, 4 walls, a ceiling, no exits. I ran to one corner and started banging on the wall. "Let me out." No answer. I hit the wall again, hard, over and over. The wood didn't crack, it didn't shake, it just breathed. I dropped to my knees. I tried to think about my bedroom, my mum's house, the smell of the garage, but it all felt far away, like a dream I'd made up. Then the whispers started again, soft, dozens of them. Surrounding me, they all sounded like me. Different tones, different moods. Some scared, some angry, some calm, all saying the same thing. "You were always here." I grabbed my head. No, I came from outside. One voice, closer than the rest, whispered, "That's what we all said." I looked up, and there they were, faces in the wall, pushing out like clay. Some smiling, some crying, some looked just like me. One of them opened its mouth and said, "You'll feel better soon, once you forget." I stood up and backed into the corner. I couldn't breathe right. My chest hurt. I yelled, "I want to go home." Then I heard a soft knock behind me. I turned. There was a door now, just standing there, a wooden one. Half-open light poured through the crack. My heart jumped. I ran to it and pulled it wide. Outside. The clearing, the trees. My car. I stepped forward, but something felt off. The sky looked wrong. The trees didn't move. Nothing made a sound. I looked back into the room. The faces were gone, the walls still. Then I heard one last whisper in my ear, "Choose." I stood there, 1 foot in the light, 1 foot in the dark, and I realized I didn't know which side was real. Had I just imagined the outside, or was I dreaming now? Which side was the cabin? Which side was me? Then everything went quiet. No whispers, no whispers, no breath, just me, standing between 2 places, not sure if I ever left, not sure if I ever will. I wasn't looking for anything, just wanted some quiet, a break. That's what the hiking guide said. Quiet trails, no traffic, good air. So I drove out early, left my phone in the glove box. Just wanted to breathe for a while. The trail was empty. No signs, no sounds, just trees. Thick, close together trees. The kind that feel like they're watching. After about an hour, I stepped off the path. Didn't mean to, just wanted to explore. A little, that's when I saw it. A clearing, wide, flat, and in the middle, a building. No roof that I could see. No windows, no door, just 4 walls. A black wooden box sitting where nothing should be. I froze. It didn't look new, but it didn't look old either. It looked wrong, like it didn't belong, like someone dropped it there from the sky. I took a few steps closer. No birds, no wind, no bugs. Just that box, waiting. I circled it once, touched the wall, smooth, cold, not like wood, more like glass, but not see dash through, no. Seams, no cracks. I knocked, just once. It made a deep, flat sound, like knocking on something hollow but thick. I leaned closer, put my ear to the wall at first. Nothing, then a voice, very faint, not shouting, not scared, just soft. It said, "Help." Me, I pulled back. My heart beat faster. I looked around the clearing. No one, no footprints, no gear, no signs of anyone else. But I heard it. I know I did. I pressed my ear against the wall again. The voice came back, same tone. "Please, help me." It sounded far away, like it was calling through a tunnel. But what really scared me was that the voice sounded familiar. I couldn't place it, but I'd heard it before. Somewhere it felt close to me. I whispered, "Who are you?" No answer, just that same breathing sound, not like an animal, like a person. I knocked again, 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Silence. Then, is someone out there? Still the same voice, a little louder now. I stepped back. The trees felt closer. The air got heavier. I turned in a slow circle. Part of me wanted to leave, but part of me didn't. I whispered, "Are you stuck in there?" The voice replied, "I don't remember." Then, almost too quiet to hear, "Please don't go." I stared at the wall. My own reflection looked back at me. Even though the wood wasn't glass, I still saw myself, but something was off. My face looked tired, older, pale. My eyes looked empty, like they'd been waiting a long time. I blinked, and it was gone. Just the wall again. No door, no window, no face. But I could still hear it. "Help me." I don't know why. But I reached out and knocked one more time. Knock, knock, knock. Then the wall pulsed. Just once, like a breath. And the voice said, "Thank you."